Okay, thank you everyone for joining us this evening for the Upper Darby Township Council Committee meeting, May 5th, 2021. We apologize for starting late. We had some technical difficulties. So at this point in time, if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, Mayor Keffer has the flag in her background, and then we will also remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, so I pledge allegiance,
to the
to
flag
of the United States of
America
and
and
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
for all.
And if we can remain standing and have a moment of silence for Dr. Nicholas M. Rangione, father of CAO Rangione, Joseph E. Murray, retired Upper Darby police officer, Anne Marie Law, a former Upper Darby Township employee, and all others who passed away recently. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I've actually just got reminded for all of our presenters this evening, if you can, after this evening, send us, you can, whoever your main contact person is, but actually if you can send it to council@upperdarby.org, your presentation this evening so that we can make sure that our minutes are as accurate as possible. So just wanted to get that out front. So everyone has that on their radar. At this point in time, we are officially opening the meeting. Council Secretary Billups, can you please give us a roll call?
Yes, Madam President. Councilor Tunis?
Here.
Councilor Billups is here. Councilor Silva?
Here.
Councilor Blackwell?
Present.
Councilor Gwynn?
Present.
Councilor Burke?
Present.
Councilor Siddiq?
Present.
Councilor Faralia?
Present.
Councilor Bonnet?
Here.
Councilor Wagner?
Is he still having technical difficulties, Ms. Dobbins?
That is correct.
Okay.
Here though,
Okay.
because he can hear this through my computer.
Okay, so Councilman Wagner will be here as soon as he can, hopefully.
Okay. And Council President Wentz?
Here. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. At this point in time, we have the rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby Township Council and residents will maintain professional respect for each other. Council encourages free speech, however, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comment, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of business of the meeting. At this point in time, we have a presentation for a zero waste resolution. Our presenters are Mike Ewall, Executive Director of Energy Justice Network, and Annie Nesmith from Chester residents concern for quality living. So Mike and Annie, please take it away.
All right, Annie, would you like to kick it off?
Hey, yeah, Mike. I guess I'll start it. Okay, take a deep breath. And first of all, I just want to thank the Upper Darby Township Council for allowing me to come here tonight and to speak. And I just want to say, I live in Delaware County, and I live in the city of Chester, population of a little bit over 32,000 people. And I just want to say that, you know, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a divorcee. I have one son and I have a daughter-in-law, and I have 2 grandkids. And I'm a homeowner in the city of Chester. I lived here since 1996. And what else is important about me is that I am a part of Circle. That's Chester Residents Concerned for Quality Living. And we want to stop the burn, not only in the city of Chester, even though we're in the eye of the storm, right? But, also for, I guess, all of Delaware County. We support the zero waste resolution, and we're hoping that you guys will too. And I don't want to be long before you, but I just want to say, share a couple of things that we in the city of Chester, whom are in the eye of the storm, are struggling with. I hope all you guys can see me, because I want to show you, I'm gonna take my glasses off for just a second, right? We have so much pollution in the city of Chester, right? From the incinerator, Covanta, which is the largest incinerator in the nation. And like I said, I'm 9 blocks away from it, right? And there's so much pollution, not only pollution from the burning, right? There's pollution from the tractor trailer trucks that come up and down the residential area. I'm a gardener, and I don't feel safe. I was having some problems with my eyes and my throat, right? And come to find out, it's from the waste that's being burned at the incinerator, and the pollutants that are coming floating around in the air, the particles. And so this is what I wear when I'm outside doing my gardening or washing my car to protect my eyes, because the irritation from the chemicals are so bad. We're all looking for, COVID to be over, but for the wise people in the city of Chester, like myself, that N95 mask.
I think I'm there.
Okay. I'm wearing that too. I mean, when this is all over, I'm still going to wear my mask. I'm wearing my goggles to protect myself. And also, in the city of Chester, people have to keep their windows and doors closed because of all the pollutants and the parcipients that come in. Some people are adding plants. For me, myself, I got a HEPA filter to try to catch the smallest of particles, right? Because what's going on is that, it affects your lungs. And, and if I talk about, the children, we are responsible for the children. We're supposed to watch out for the children. Here in the city of Chester, right, we are 5 times the national average for our children to come down with asthma and end up in the hospital. We're 3 times the state level. And so this is a dire situation for us. And we need to stop the burn. I mean, people, and I know this to be a fact for myself, but I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm talking for people in general, because this is what we're all going through. You can wash on a Saturday morning, get up in the morning and wash your car at 9 o'clock. By noon, you got all these particles all over your car, and it's sticky and stuff. And it's like a dirty car like this equals dirty lungs. And so, I could go on and on and on about what is going on, but I want to ask, I want to ask you guys to please show our shared humanity and compassion for one another, right? And to get on board with this zero waste resolution. We are each other's keepers. I mean, this is, what's going on is environmental injustice. Some might use the word environmental racism, but whatever it is, I implore you guys to please get on board, help us. There's no harm in asking for help. When you ask for help, some people think it's a sign of weakness, but we, Chester Residents Concerned for Quality Living, believe it is a sign of strength. So I just want to say, and I'm going to close, and I just want to thank you guys that you guys allowed me to come here and to be heard. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for allowing me to speak as well. Thank you to Council President Laura for Council President Wentz for giving us some time in the agenda here. I understand we have up to 15 minutes, and I have a whole PowerPoint lined up in case we need to use it to answer questions, but I mainly just want to say a few quick words and then see what kind of questions you have. So I don't want to throw information at you that's not what you most need to hear. But my name is Mikey. While I've been involved in working for environmental justice in Chester since 1994. I've been for 30 years now working on solid waste issues. And I actually am the one who developed the zero waste hierarchy that's used as an international standard. So I have a lot of familiarity with the incinerator industry and the solutions to not having to burn waste. And having studied this, I know from the state's own data that is reported by this incinerator where your waste is going in Chester, that they are the largest air polluter in Chester. And they're one of the largest air polluters in the entire county and the whole 7-county Philadelphia area. And what is concerning us is that the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority, which Upper Darby contracts with to send your waste to their transfer stations, and then they bring it to the incinerator, then you get to breathe that trash, and then ash generated from that goes to the county's landfill in Berks County. And we know that that contract comes up in about almost exactly 1 year, April 30th, 2022, it expires. And we are urging the county Solid Waste Authority not to continue burning its trash. You can still be bringing Upper Darby's trash to their transfer stations, but we would like, and we're asking the authority to not use incineration as the method for handling that waste. And 4 other municipalities in the county so far have passed resolutions in recent weeks urging the county and the authority to move away from burning its trash. And this is not about telling Chester what to do. I know there's been some talk about that in a lot of municipalities that, oh, we're telling Chester what to do. It's not about that at all. First of all, Chester residents have made their voices very loud and clear that they don't want this. Chester's mayor's in a little different story. He's telling people the opposite, even though he used to be an outspoken opponent to the incinerator years ago. But it's about Upper Darby taking responsibility as the largest source of waste in the county for where your waste will go, and to ask the county to steer it in a more responsible direction. And understanding and having studied this, knowing that incineration is the most polluting and expensive way to manage waste, and knowing that this is the largest incinerator in the country with the fewest pollution controls, which is part of the reason why it's such a large polluter. Anything is a better solution. We know landfills are not great, but right now you're sending toxic ash to a landfill. You'd be better off sending the full amount of waste directly to the landfill, because we know that the air pollution and other impacts are much smaller when you do that. And then of course we want to, and these zero waste resolutions encourage the county to move in the direction of composting and other methods that will pull a lot of things out of the waste stream so that we can slow down the use of landfills over time. So let me just stop there, and I hope you have a lot of questions because I have a lot of answers, and I can share a screen if need be and present some data if that would be helpful. So are there any questions?
Council members, do you guys have any questions? Councilman Silva, go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Not to play devil's advocate, but that facility is there. I'm not quite sure if we don't send trash, or wouldn't someone else just do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the common questions we've been hearing. So no problem with devil's advocacy. I'm all about that. It's good to have a good, healthy discussion. So having studied this waste market and worked in these issues for as long as I have, and even talking to others, I shouldn't say others, I'm not in the waste industry, but talking to people in the waste industry, rather, I know that there is no large source of waste that is seeking a market anytime soon. Philadelphia is locked into long-term contracts, including with Cavanta, so they're a big chunk of the waste that already goes there. So that's not about to increase. If anything, they'll be moving away from that as those of us in Philadelphia advocate for Philadelphia to stop burning its waste. We know New York City is not about to change because they're locked into a 2 to 3 decade contract that has waste going there. We know Baltimore is also just locked into a 10 years of using the incinerator within their borders. DC has a Cavant incinerator they're using, and they're trying to move away from it. So there's no big block of waste that is going to just fill this up. So if the 31% from the county pulls out, that means somewhere up to 31% reduction in air pollution just from the county. And yes, they'll find some smaller sources to fill that up over time. But then we'll be looking at the other 31% from Philadelphia in a couple of years, and that will totally change the picture.
Anybody else have questions? Councilman Quinn?
Yes. Can you elaborate a little bit as to various scrubbers or other implements needed to improve the air quality that's coming out of the stacks?
Absolutely. So there are 4 pollution control devices that are common to incinerators in this country. One of them, they have 2 of them. One of them is a fabric filter or bag house that captures particulate matter. They already have that one. There's also what they call a scrubber or spray dryer absorber, and that sprays lime and reduces the sulfur oxides that cause acid rain and respiratory problems. Those are the 2 that they have. The 2 that they're missing, an EPA inspector actually questioned them on this about 10 years ago, and they just answered that saying, well, she was asking, why are you missing these 2 control devices? And they said, oh, we'll introduce operational issues and it would cost too much, is essentially what they said. And I can get you a citation on that in full report. And those 2 devices, one is the one that reduces the nitrogen oxides that trigger asthma attacks, which is why they're the #1 source of industrial emissions of nitrogen oxides. Of course, cars and trucks put out a lot more of it, and they are quick to point that out. But as far as a single source, not every little car and every truck and every house, they are the largest single source of that pollutant in the county. The other device that they're missing is the carbon injection system that reduces the most toxic of the pollutants like dioxins and mercury. And because they're missing that, they are responsible for over half of the mercury emissions in the entire county. And mercury is exquisitely toxic. Dioxin, far more so, is the most toxic chemical known to science. There's no safe dose of either one. And there are fish consumption advisories on the Delaware River because of mercury levels in the fish already. So we know there's a connection there.
How much are these items to procure?
We don't know that for this incinerator. They're still studying the idea of finally putting on one of those 2 missing controls, and that's the one for nitrogen oxides. And they will not be coming up to modern standards for that. They'll be coming up to standards that plants as old as this one, about 30 years old, are typically using. The one for modern standards, they made it very clear that they are not going to be able to afford to do that. We do know that an existing incinerator in Baltimore, which is about half the number of, well, it's 3 boilers instead of 6, and about 2/3 the capacity of this one. It was estimated to cost them about $60 to $90 million to install those controls on that plant. So it would be something larger than that here.
Is there any federal assistance available
Not
to
that I'm
mitigate
aware.
that cost?
No, I'm not aware of any.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Billups?
Thank you. So if these people do not get the contract, what happens?
If they do not get the contract, then what happens is the County Solid Waste Authority will be contracting to use their own landfill that they own in Berks County until that fills up. And then they can contract for a longer term with a private landfill company. There are so many landfills in Pennsylvania. There are 43 right now, including the one owned by this county. And there are 3 other private ones in the same county, in Berks County. There is such a glut of waste disposal capacity in Pennsylvania that ever since they've started measuring waste imports from other states, which was in the early 90s, Pennsylvania has always been the largest importer of trash. That's why we've been getting waste from Canada down through Puerto Rico, and every state in between has been flowing to Pennsylvania, and much of that to the incinerator in Chester. So there's no shortage of landfill space. About 17% in the latest year of the county's waste already doesn't go to the incinerator, but goes to a landfill in Bucks County. So the townships that are doing that, we're about to study and find out how much they're paying and if there's much of a difference. But some of that's already happening. So it's not a big deal to switch to what other towns are already experiencing.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councilman Burke?
Thank you, President West. With all the numbers that you've calculated over the years, what's the projection of our cost as the township for the next 5 years of switching this?
That's something that we're hoping to find out. We have right to know all requests into the Solid Waste Authority right now for the service agreements. One of them will be with your township. So if it's possible, someone in your township can get that faster than the 30 days they're going to make us wait for the information. But we're hoping to find out a cost comparison between those that are using the Solid Waste Authority and those that are using other options. And as soon as we have that, we'll be making that available.
Thanks for the answer. But as we all know, we passed our budget this year already. It would be something that I would think we'd be looking into a budget next year if it costs us extremely expensive to the residents.
Yeah, generally, incineration is more expensive. Delaware County is in a bit of a weird situation because you've been giving away your landfill space to out-of-county entities and giving very discounted dumping of the ash to this incinerator in exchange for cheaper rates. And that's why we're trying to get an understanding of exactly what is being paid by municipalities that don't use the incinerator versus those that do. Generally, it's not a huge difference. We looked at this in a comparison a couple of years ago in Montgomery County and found that the ones that were using the incinerator there were paying more than the few that were using the landfill in that same region that we were studying.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Councilman Silva, I know you were having some issues. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, would there be an impact on, I guess, jobs countywide as well? I guess that would be my only other concern.
Yeah, the impact on jobs would be pretty negligible, especially in terms of Chester residents. We know Cavanta admitted in writing that they have 105 jobs at that plant. Only 6 are actually Chester residents that are employed. And we know from other studies that incineration provides the fewest jobs per amount of waste processed. Even landfills produce about 83% more. But source reduction, reuse, recycling, and composting, depending on which ones you're doing, can produce 5 to 10 times more just for composting or recycling. For reuse, you can get up to 300 times more jobs for the same amount of material. And that's one of the reasons why the Teamsters Union backed our work in Baltimore, Maryland, to shut down the incinerator there, because they, not only for the health of their workers that live in the same community, but they were hoping to organize the workers in the recycling jobs that would come, because they know there are a lot more of them and they're healthier, safer jobs.
And if I could again, just, you said the facility now is about 30 years old. Is there like a life expectancy for a facility like that? I mean, are we getting near the end?
Yes, you are getting near the end. I've studied the lifetimes of the incinerators that have closed since 2000. There are 45 of them as of this January. But before the January one closed, I studied the 44 before that, between 2000 and 2020. Their average age when they closed was 23. This one will be 30 in December, and very few make it to the 40th birthday. There are only 4 in the country that have made it. And last year, 2 turned 40, 2 turned 45, and one of them has been falling apart and having problems for years.
Okay, thank you.
So actually, just to tag off of Councilman Silva, so it's lived longer than the average incinerator. Does it mean that in the next 10 years, as it gets older to the point that it should have retired a while ago, but does the quality of the filtering, what little filtering they have, does it continue to decrease as the next 10 years continue?
If they're being responsible in managing the plant, and I won't pass judgment on that in this statement, but they should be changing those filters out and replacing things like fabric filter and baghouse bags on a certain basis. So I wouldn't expect that necessarily, but we do know that other incinerators, including one that Covanta has in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is one of the newest ones. It's the newest one in their fleet, except for one that actually is this. There's one new one in the country that was built in the past 20 some years, but everything else is 25 plus years old. And that one several years ago started having breakdowns, malfunctions. The one in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and Plymouth is having massive malfunctions the past 2 years as well. That's a little bit older, but their operation and maintenance costs do go up over time, and they have more downtime, a lot more parts breaking down and things. So even if it's not their air pollution controls, other parts of their system will get more costly and to maintain over time.
Gotcha. So I think at this point in time, are there any other council members with any questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. At this point in time, are you able to send us your PowerPoint that you had for us? I know that we didn't have a large amount of time to look over everything that you had so that we can still consider it. You know, you've given us a lot of information on specific, you know, numbers and so forth, but to have your PowerPoint would really help us to be able to absorb all that information. Is that okay?
I'll be happy to follow up with you with that and links to further information. And if anyone has questions, I'll make sure you have my information as well. So I welcome any questions that you don't find answered in the materials I provide.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just wanted to thank you and Ms. Nesmith for joining us. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm slightly dyslexic and I didn't hear you say it beforehand. So.
Okay, that's okay. It's Nesmith.
Nesmiths.
Yeah, Nesmith. Thank you so much for, like I said, hearing us. Just for hearing.
I'm sorry that you're having to live in the condition that you are living in. And I thank you for being an advocate for yourself and the residents in your community.
Okay, and thank you for your compassion.
Thank you. Have a great night. All right. So next up, we have a presentation on a land development for 8201 Lansdowne Avenue for Upper Darby School District.
Would it be okay if I share my screen?
Yes, of course. Whatever you need.
So while Susan is hooking that up, I'll introduce myself and the team. I'm Kevin Gottschall with Gottschall Kane O'Rourke Architects. We're the architects that are developing the project. And I apologize, but actually I was in contact with somebody with COVID. So I'm in a remote, isolated location with questionable bandwidth. So if I stop talking and either Allison Klingler or Susan Feenan start talking, this will be the reason why. And Allison or Susan are work with me, and they're at the home office. And they're going to basically take over if for some reason that I lose my connection. And also with us, we have Kim Frymuth from Fox Rothschild. She's the school district solicitor. I have Kyle Kessler from McMahon Associates, who are the traffic engineers. And I have Tim Brennan from Nave Newell Associates, who are the civil engineers. So we have a quick presentation we put together just to give everybody an orientation to the project. Susan, if you can advance to the first slide. I'm going to start with a simple concept. It's kind of a complicated site. There's a lot of pieces, a lot of things happening on this site. So I'm going to start off with a very simple concept of what remains on the site, what leaves the site, and what's coming to the site. So the first category, what stays on the site, the school district's facilities and maintenance department. So these are the people, the HVAC mechanics, the carpenters, the electricians. They have some vans, they have some storage space, they have some offices and some workshops. That function is here now. That function stays as part of this development project. The second item is the transportation department. That's the transportation offices, the dispatch, including the radio tower. It's the fleet of buses. It's the mechanics who repair those buses, and it's the fueling operation. This is the complete transportation department of the Upper Darby School District. It remains on this site and we're not expanding it. There's no additional buses coming to the site. The only modification to the program of this function is that the fueling station will be expanded a little bit. We'll talk about that later. The third component that's on the site right now that will remain on the site is the baseball field. That's actually on district-owned property, but it's not used by the school district. That's a community baseball field. So we've arranged the development, maintaining that baseball field so that it can continue to be used in the future. The two things that are leaving the site, Susan, if you can advance the slide.
There's a little bit of a delay when I do it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So there's two functions that are leaving the site, and the first is the automotive repair garage. This is district-owned property. It's a district-owned building, but it had previously been leased to a tenant. And if you've driven by this site in the last month or two, you'll notice all the cars are gone. The automotive repair business has actually vacated the site. The intention is to remove the garage and all the paving as part of this project. The second thing that's leaving the site is the sanitation department, which would be the fleet of trucks and the office building associated with it. There is one function that's coming to this site, and that function is the district administrative offices. That includes the superintendent, the business manager, finance, curriculum, human resources. I kind of stopped the list there. It's the IT department, it's the I already said curriculum, it's the security, it's the culinary, it's basically everything that keeps the buildings running. Those central offices will move from a location at Aronimink to this facility. Just some quick, and I know, Susan, you're advancing the slide. Just some quick background information. It is zoned, the property is zoned Z2 commercial. Right now, the limit on impervious coverage on this site is 70%. The current condition is a little over 70%, but as part of our development of the project, we're going to add some green spaces in the northwest corner. We're going to add some landscape islands. We're actually going to reduce the impervious surface to get ourselves below the 70% threshold. The site is about 5.6 acres. We are showing parking for 200 cars, and we're showing parking for 129 buses, which is the current busing fleet. I will make a point that 110 of those buses actually go out on daily runs. I will also make note that there are 2 waiver requests that I believe we could talk about later as part of the resolution. If we look at how the site developed, you can essentially divide the site by drawing a line east to west right through the center of the existing building. Everything to the north we refer to as the north parking lot. That's basically being developed for automobile traffic and pedestrian traffic. So there's a new site entry coming in off of Lansdowne Avenue that lines up with Bond Avenue. There is currently a traffic signal at that location. That'll provide access to the north parking lot, which will be for parking for the district administration and any visitors to the site. There's an ADA accessible sidewalk that'll get you to a new public entry into the district administrative offices. And currently, the access to the baseball field is through the southern parking lot, and it does pass by buses and dumpsters. We're actually redoing the entrance into that baseball field, providing a sidewalk that'll basically get you from Lansdowne Avenue directly to the baseball field, again, as an accessible route. I think that'll be a nice addition because if it does serve a community use, there's a wonderful parking lot sitting right next to it and a clean, safe, accessible entrance to get to it. On the south side of the property is essentially the district operations. So this is the fleet of buses that would be located in that south lot. There's parking spaces for the bus drivers located in that spot. The fueling station, which is currently located, and Susan can point to its current location. Currently, it's located up next to the building, and we're relocating it to that zone that Susan's just articulated right there.
So the yellow zone is the new zone. The red zone is the old one.
The dumpsters we've located in the center of the site, so they're as far away from the adjacent property lines as we can get them. And this southern lot is surrounded by a fence, an ornamental fence on the west and the south side, because that's the side that you see, and probably a chain link fence across the east side and the north side, because that's facing a Pico right away in the back and backs up against the baseball field, so a little less visibility. This site has had several conversations with the township engineer, and And I don't know how many it's been, probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 different conversations. So there's a lot of things that have been discussed and worked into the plan as we've collaborated with them. Pedestrian circulation zones, you can see both in the north lot and in the south lot. We have some crosswalks shown that basically can collect people who park in the parking lot and get them to the building. We've introduced landscape islands, which meet the zoning ordinance, with a heavy concentration of screening of those buses, especially from Lansdowne Avenue. We've supplemented the landscape buffer across the southern property line that backs up against the residential properties, added trees within that existing buffer. We actually did have a meeting with those residents just last week to hear some of their concerns. We're trying to incorporate their concerns into the plan as we move forward. We've had quite a few conversations about the fueling station, and we've pointed out the location before, but we're essentially going from a single pump on this site to 2 pump locations. Mike Galante and Al Federico actually asked us to push those pumps farther onto the site to make sure that there was a little bit of stacking space off Lansdowne Avenue. We've looked at the numbers, we've looked at the turning radiuses, we've looked at the stacking to make sure that everything's going to fit and work the way that it's supposed to work. And we've had quite a few conversations about lighting on the site. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about lighting later in the presentation.
All right, so I get to talk about the fun stuff that's happening along Lansdowne Avenue. Just so you all know too, there will be an easement that's granted along all of Lansdowne Avenue. The drawings that Kevin was showing, you might notice 2 lines that run parallel to the street. So it just has to do with the PennDOT right-of-way and the township right-of-way. There's a little bit of a difference there. So there will be an easement granted to give that 15 feet of space to the township. So the best, I hope community benefit to this is getting rid of the old, private garage that was there servicing cars and having all the cars parked out front. All of this is gone, and this will become a green space, and hopefully it will be a bioswale so that we can capture some of the runoff and manage the stormwater runoff right on the site. To date, these things have already been removed from the site, but the building will be gone. The entire paved area will be removed and replaced with green space. And there are a few underground storage tanks that are going to be removed as a part of this project, of course, following all of the EPA requirements that are necessary. But we're hoping to get a rain garden in there and create a little nice frontage for our new building, well, the renovated building. The other thing that's happening is that we are going to be adding a bus stop, a covered bus station right here. So this little tiny area right here will be a covered bus shelter. And again, so this is a new entrance into the site. This is the proposed rain garden I was just talking about. There are some additional trees that are going up along Lansdowne Avenue, and some additional ones here back where the bus parking is in the back. There will be new sidewalks all along here. So right now it's kind of a little fuzzy where the sidewalk begins and ends, but there will be a nice, really cleanly defined pedestrian lane sidewalk all the way across the whole side of the property. We are working with PennDOT regarding some ADA curb cuts and things like that, and of course some enhanced or improvements to the pedestrian signaling at Bond Avenue. But again, some landscape buffers as well, and just trying to put a green face on the whole thing and make it much more pedestrian friendly as well. So we're gonna, sorry, again, there's a little delay when I click forward.
All right, so obviously some adjustments that we're making to this project are to the building itself. It's a little, I think, worn at this point. I believe it was originally built in the 1940s. So we're looking to have new windows and doors installed on the building, incorporating a little bit of design, extra design into the facade. We're also looking to repoint all of the exterior masonry, which will both improve the life of the brick as well as give it a refreshed look. We're also looking to add several sustainable design elements. There's currently no insulation in the exterior walls or in the roof. So that's something that we are looking to add and bring the R value and the insulation up to meet the modern energy codes. Throughout the building, we'll be adding new LED lighting, which is a much more sustainable option, as well as new HVAC systems. As part of incorporating the community and adding sustainability, we're also looking to add bike racks and bike parking, as well as the landscape islands and stormwater management that Susan, I believe, has already covered very well. Kevin had mentioned previously that we're also looking to overhaul the lighting control of the site. The existing parking lot lighting is inefficient and it's not well controlled. So there's a lot of light escaping. Our new lighting is looking to incorporate LEDs, again, partially to be sustainable, and it's just a better lighting system overall. And we are looking to incorporate glare control and to better control the light spill onto the neighboring properties by eliminating that as best we can.
Just to follow up on that a little bit, I believe the lighting system will be dimmable to the point where after it's installed, we'll be able to go out with a light meter, walk the perimeter, walk the edges, and make sure that the light is not spilling beyond our boundary, so to speak, and staying within the lines. And that's something that's going to be tweakable after the installation, which is really a really great feature. Kevin, you're up again.
Oh, sorry. Just a quick note about traffic on the site. It is, in our opinion, an overall reduction in the amount of traffic and the amount of use of the site. So the chart that's here actually shows the first 5 categories: facilities office, IT, maintenance, transportation office, and transportation mechanics. Those are all people that I identified in the beginning of the job that are on the site now and will be there in the future. We have the sanitation department that has 68 employees. We have the automotive repair station that we estimated at 5 employees. They will be leaving the site. Coming to the site is district administration, which is 58 people. So you can see that in terms of use and the number of people, translating to the number of cars, right now there's 102 people on the site. We're proposing there will be 87. Along with that, as I mentioned before, that the number of buses stays the same. This is the district's entire fleet. There's no additional buses coming to the site. But the sanitation trucks that are on the site now will no longer be circulating on the site. So that actually reduces the number of trips on and off the site by about 124. I do want to make note that the sanitation trucks will be fueling on this site, but that'll only be 12 trucks a day that'll come on, fuel, and leave the site.
Isn't all that going to be timed too, Kevin? So it kind of dovetails with the school bus schedule and stuff like that.
It's all an agreed upon schedule. And in terms of looking at the amount of parking on the site, right now, there's somewhere between 75 and 80 existing parking spaces. That's actually a little bit difficult to calculate right now because it's a little bit of a free-for-all. Buses park in car spots and cars park in buses spots. But it's somewhere around 75 to 80 for the district mechanics, the facilities people, the drivers, everyone. By ordinance, we're calculating a need for 103 spaces during the day. That's looking at office spaces and the repair facility, and 27 spaces as part of an evening function because there is a small boardroom associated with the district administration. The plan that you're looking at right now shows 200 parking spaces. And the difference there between what we're calculating by ordinance is 103 needed and 200 spaces provided are the bus drivers, which there's nothing in the ordinance that specifically deals with, but we do want to make sure that we have space for the drivers to park on site. So the only thing I'll say in conclusion is we have obviously been to the planning committee. They did make a few recommendations. We had a great conversation with them. They talked about maybe incorporating some outdoor seating areas for district staff so that they'd have a place to eat. We are planning on doing that. That might actually be something that the district's going to do directly. but it is something they're interested in providing. And we also talked about trying to screen the parking lot to the edge of the property to the north. It's a little bit of a challenge because we don't have a lot of ground there, but to the extent that we have landscape islands, we will introduce some trees there to actually screen the northern property, which is me and oil, from this property. District staff and visitors who would be visiting the building. With that, I can turn it over to any questions that anyone might have.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, President Wentz. So the automotive repair shop that's on there now is not going to be, and I was wondering where those employees are moving.
You know, I do not know that. I know that they leased that space and the district gave them plenty of notice that they intended to terminate that lease. I do not know where that business moved to.
Oh, so those are the business employees, not school district.
They are not school district employees.
That might be repairing the school buses or anything. Okay.
No, but thank you. Let me make that clarification. So that service station was a privately owned independent business that leased space from the school district to conduct their business. That is separate from the district mechanics who fix the school buses. The district mechanics are absolutely part of this project. They're on the site right now, and they will remain on the site because the district does maintain their own vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Silva?
Thank you. So when you were discussing with the building renovations, you're going to increase the R value of the buildings and change the lighting and stuff. Is that going to be just for the parts of the building that are going to be like office for the administration, or is that for the entire building as well, like the district mechanics? And I mean, typically workshops usually aren't as.
Yes, thank you. The energy code basically says if you heat it, you insulate it. So that includes the storage rooms, the workshops, the maintenance facility. Everything will be brought up to current standards in terms of the insulation value, the R value of that envelope. So yes, that will include the repair areas as well.
And one other question too. So you're moving all the buses to the south portion of the lot when you include in the portion that's used by the sanitation department now. So you're going to have 203 spots on the north portion of the property. Does that mean, like, I guess, is that so there'll be like ample parking for people to use the ball field or something, or I mean, it seems like that's more spots than.
So actually in the north lot, there will be 107 spaces is what we're showing right now.
Okay.
So there's 58 people coming from Aronimink. There is, and I'm not sure exactly what the number, but somewhere around 15 that are in the building right now in office space. And then there's ample spaces for visitors. Then there's 93 parking spaces in the southern lot, and those are for bus drivers.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. Councilman Bonnet?
Thank you. Is it, maybe I missed this, but a question about, are the maintenance staff staying in this building? Are they going to continue to have workshops in this building?
Yes, they are staying in this building. There is some storage rooms and one workspace that they have.
All right. I mean, all the existing HVAC, electricians, et cetera, are they going to remain here?
Correct. They will be on this site.
I think you said that bus maintenance will also remain here.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, good. I think, from what I can see, it's going to be a nice improvement. It's going to be less industrial looking in terms of the overall aesthetic of the site. And it certainly appears to be a nice improvement for access to the ball field in the back, particularly if you're putting the vehicular parking up in the north side nearest that ball field. You mentioned that you met with the planning committee. Which planning committee is that?
It was the Upper Darby Planning Committee.
Okay, I sit on that committee. I was not invited to any,
It wasn't a council committee.
it's not the planning zoning committee?
No, it's not a council planning committee. It's a mayor's planning committee.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll discuss as to why it did not come before the planning zoning committee, but that's a different time we can talk about that. But I thank you for your answers.
They don't normally come, we don't get until the resolution comes to us. Now we've got a resolution that we're discussing today. We have the presentation today, and then the council zoning committee can meet between this meeting and the 26th of April to discuss the resolution and the plans based on what we saw here this evening.
Very well.
Thank you. Any other council members with questions or concerns? Councilman Gwynn?
Yes. I just wanted to confirm or understand better in terms of the taking care of the maintenance of the buses and things like that. Will there be separate ventilation systems in there to accommodate them separately from the school district employees that are going to be in there and such? I know you talked about the HVAC, but carbon monoxide is a problem.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And yes, that has been a major topic of discussion, to make sure that that space has adequate exhaust, to make sure that it has diesel exhaust distraction within that space. And I would also say even noise has been a concern of mine, because you're right, bus repair and office spaces don't particularly go well together. So we put a lot of energy into making sure that they're isolated in terms of fumes, exhaust, and smells and noise. If we were actually to review the interior layout of the space, you'll see that it's mostly storage rooms and the cafeteria, kitchen, break room above here, because again, I was reluctant to put any occupied spaces there.
And also, I assume that they'll have adequate areas to clean the buses, get the snow off the buses and such like that for their getting out.
Yeah, actually the snow removal is a major part of a transportation site like this. And there's actually a device, Susan, you can point to it. There's actually a device that they're planning on adding to the site. It's actually up on columns. It's not the one that's out there now. This one actually has a blade that you basically bring the school bus from the north lot through that area, clean the snow off the top. And you see there's a little gate right where the cursor is up to the north, Susan. There's a little gate right there that connects the north and south lot together. That's there for two reasons: fire department access and snow removal from the school buses, so that they can roll straight through and park in the south lot until they can reoccupy, or park in the north lot until they can reoccupy the south lot.
There is a portion of the building that's being demolished here to make that, whole turning scenario a little more
Yeah,
gracious.
sorry, I should have mentioned that.
And this is the garage area here, this is the wood shop, and then this is the driver area here, and storage as well. And then there is a whole second floor that's not shown in this site plan, but which is mostly office space upstairs.
Thank you.
Are there any other council members with questions or concerns on this presentation? Please raise your hand virtually.
I was raising my hand.
You gotta raise it via the icon, but go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman Siddiq.
Now I have one question, like what's the price tag for all this development, all the relocation, renovation, and the funds coming from where, or we're getting any state fund?
The total construction cost, and I should have reviewed this right before I went on, but I think we're at 12.5 million construction. That would be for the site and the building.
And that is funded by school district, or we are getting any state grant or anything?
This is a school district funded project. The state funding of public and projects has been in moratorium for about the last 4 or 5 years. They're not issuing those dollars right now.
So the taxes for the school district taxes for the next upcoming year, it will affect it?
I would not be the person to respond to that. I can tell you what the construction cost is in terms of bonds and finances. That would be a question for the business manager. And I do not believe he was able to join us this evening.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Silva?
Yeah, I guess it's more of a curiosity question, but like the facilities for repair of the buses, what kind of capabilities will they have? Are they going to be post lifts or pits, or are they just, is it just basically the like routine maintenance? Do the buses have to leave the facility for like major repairs?
That's an astute question, because you're correct. They do have to leave the facility for major repairs. As I understand it, they do not do engine overhauls in this facility. It's more simple repairs and maintenance related. They won't have any built-in lifts for the size vehicle we're talking about. They actually have wheel lifts that move to a particular vehicle and can raise it a few feet for them to work underneath it. But they don't have the need to raise them any higher than that.
Okay, so just brakes, tires, brake adjustments, that kind of thing.
I
greasing.
believe that's the majority. Now, if you ask me exactly where the line is between what they do and what they send out, I don't know where it is. I know they don't rebuild engines, and I knew they do all the maintenance. How far they go into major repairs, I'm not entirely sure. I believe they do some, but they don't. I know they won't completely overhaul an engine here.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Hold on 1 second.
Kevin, what is the scope of work for the field house here?
It's very minor. They're going to occupy the second floor with their dispatch, the bus dispatch. It's 3 or 4 people that I think occupy the second floor. But basically using it as it is now, I think we're putting in a window and improving the finishes.
Are there any other council members with any questions or concerns? Councilman Gwynn?
Thank you. I assume the small spaces in the south parking lot represent where the bus drivers that are coming in to operate the buses would park their regular vehicles? And if so, how many of those spaces are set up in your drawing versus how many buses?
There are 93 parking spaces shown. There are 129 buses, but only 110 of them go out on daily runs. And if you're wondering what the difference is between, again, they have to maintain those buses. So there's some extras. There's some extras for buses that are being worked on that day, and there's some extra buses for buses that don't start in the morning when they're supposed to. So they do have a few extra bus spaces that do not represent buses that actually go out on a run.
Thank you. And are there any handicap spaces?
They're all located in the northern lot, off the public entrance. There's actually off the northern lot, there's a public entrance, and then there's a staff entrance. And the ADA spaces are located right there between the two.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, just want to elaborate a little bit on that. With the ADA, will it also be for women who are expecting? Any type of parking facilities for them? Just curious.
We do not have any designated right now.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. So thank you so much for your presentation. Please, if it's possible for you to stay on in case we do have public comment coming up next, in case any of the residents have any questions who had signed up to be, to speak. That way we can solve those problems now.
Okay. I'll stay on. I think the rest of my team could probably drop off.
Yep, that's great. Thank you so much.
I'll stay with you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, and please send your notes, reminder to send your notes in your presentation to us so that we can make sure our minutes are accurate. And we would love to see your PowerPoint presentation as well so that council members can look it over in more detail.
And again, that's just going to council@upperdarby.org, right?
Yes, please. That's the easiest one to send it to. And then they'll get it to everyone from there.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your hard work. It looks great. And we really appreciate the green factors that you've put into it. That's really important. And it's definitely in line with our mayor's view of the future of Upper Darby. So, and we completely agree with her on that. So we greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, great. So next up, we have, I just want to take note. I want to just thank our presenters this evening for sharing all this important information with us. This is our second time, so heading into the public forum, this is our second time using webinar Zoom for our council meetings. So please be patient with us as we are working out any kinks in our system. Also this evening, we are including in-person public comments. Each resident will be given 3 minutes to speak and then their mic will be muted. There are no written comments anymore as far as public comments. We have fully shifted over to in-person comments. So in the future, so for all future meetings, you must register in order to speak in person. Please state your, so for those who are from the public who are speaking this evening, please state your name and your address at the beginning of your comment. Okay, so we are going to begin public comment. I believe Councilwoman Billups, do you have the list of our attendees? Correct? Okay, I have it. Okay. Okay, so Ms. Phillips and I will be the timekeepers as always. If other council members can mute their microphones. So let's get our timekeepers ready. Okay, so I think our first speaker for this evening is Diana Gove. Can we get her mic turned on?
Council President Wentz, she does not appear to be present.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe she'll sign on before the end of the public comment. Okay, so then our next up is Gerald Harrison. Gerald Harrison, you need to unmute your mic. There you go.
Am I on yet?
Yep, we hear you.
Very good.
Please say your name and your address.
Yes,
and time go.
Gerald Harrison, 29 South Kirkland Avenue, Upper Darby. I have a comment and a question about both the presentations. First, the incinerator situation in Chester. My comment is as a resident of Upper Darby, it was all news to me that my trash is more or less directly poisoning people in Chester. And my question is, how does a company be allowed to do that to its residents to the point that, as we heard one witness state, that you wash the car at 9 in the morning and it's sticky and gunky by noon? How is that allowed to go? As an ardent composter, and would love to see composting become something everybody does. In the meantime, how on earth can a company, one of the biggest in the country, from what I understand, an incinerator, get away with something like that? That's the question. I don't know if anyone could possibly answer it, but that's an outrage. As a resident of Upper Darby, knowing that some of my trash is contributing to that, absolutely unacceptable. Now, as it relates to the project that 3801, is that correct?
8201.
8201, I was close. 8201 Lansdowne. I like it. As a nearby resident, many people here know that my wife and I and many community people have been taking care of a dirt road that actually runs behind the center field area of that ball diamond, starting at around Kirkland Avenue and going parallel to Delaware Avenue. There is a dirt road. We just cleaned it up again a week or so ago, and we have kept it really clean. I was wondering if there's any concern about that line that borders the center field area. It runs, there's been some work done to crush down the vegetation out there that goes all the way to Cedar Avenue. I see in the diagram that there were some trees projected to be planted right along that border. But there's a real marshland out there. And I was wondering what the concerns, if any, were to take care of that, as well as maintaining the area just outside the baseball diamond. Certainly, I assume the baseball diamond will be taken care of. It's been taken care of very nicely for many years. But the center field area and the hillside that goes up to Delaware Avenue periodically becomes really trashed because some people back up, apparently, truck up on Delaware Avenue and just dump it down the hill. So that's a concern that I don't know if this group can address it all, but it's certainly going to impact how that property looks.
Thank you. Your time is up. Is there, Kevin, can you respond to his concerns on the property line between the edge of the baseball field and Delaware Ave?
Yeah, there's really no part of the plan that would deal with that. That area back there is actually a PICO right of way, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
So it's not owned by the school district. And actually, it's kind of interesting that the baseball field was developed. It actually extends into that right of way. So we weren't going to change that. We weren't going to clean anything. I mean, there's no part of this project was going to go back into that area. We're pretty much leaving that the way that it was. It would be nice to be able to clean and do something back there, but it's actually not school district property.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. As far as your first question, I do not know how the company gets away with the polluting of the community. That's part of the reason why the zero waste resolution came to us. And maybe part of, so the council committees will discuss the resolution and this presentation that we just had. And one of the concerns is, you know, Mayor Keffer has already installed programs to help reduce the amount of trash that we send to the incinerator by extending the Christmas tree collection, by extending yard waste collection for 6 to 7 months out of the year instead of only 2 weeks out of the year. So there are things that have already started the process of reducing the amount of trash that we send to the incinerator. And I think if anything, it's more of a motivation to do even more. And the concept of composting has come up, as well as seeing if there's a way for our township to take on a project like that, but we're not quite there yet, but we're definitely talking about it to find ways to reduce our waste. But thank you very much for your comments and concerns.
Excuse me, Council President Wentz, could I just say something real quick?
Yes,
I just wanted to be clear for the public and council knows, as far as an enforcement mechanism related to environmental violations, if there are environmental violations, that is DEP and the EPA. Upper Darby has no ability to enforce environmental laws or regulations. It is preempted by both state law and the federal government. Of course, we could always reduce our carbon footprint and various other things around the edges, but enforcement legally is not with this council or this administration. Just wanted to be clear.
Thank you for the clarification, Sister Kilkenny. Okay, So our next speaker, I'm sorry, going back to my list. Our next speaker is Dolores Lombardi.
Okay,
There you go.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I too hope that Upper Darby can stop burning its waste and look into other options before we have to renew a contract. About the 8201 Lansdowne Avenue project, it seems very nice. I live near there, and it'd be very nice for that property to get cleaned up. I appreciate the increased amount of green space and the increased amount of pervious surface. And I'm even though maybe they don't control the ball field, I'm very happy to see the ball field remaining. It's a big part of the community, and I like the new entrance and the parking lot that will make it maybe a better known spot and a more used spot. So that's the end of my comment. I think I forgot to give my address.
Yes.
29 South Kirkland Avenue, Upper Darby, PA.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next speaker is Joe Clark.
I had a few quick things. First, the district project. I noticed that the back part that they're not planning on doing anything with abuts the Pico right away, as he said, which is the new trail that just started to go into motion, and wanted to suggest that maybe they do something with that to dress it up a little bit, since it will be part of the new trail. The others, as you're all aware, there's a lot of ongoing issues with McKinley Playground, also some issues with Chapman. I did send in requests to the request department or request line and to the parks department, but some of that financially is probably going to go beyond what they're capable of doing. I'd like to ask if council can look into a council grant, possibly to cover some of the work that's going to be needed. McKinley has some major problems. There's a metal storage box with multiple layers of paint, some of it probably lead, that's sitting in the corner of the playground. The paint is chipping. And the fence all the way around the perimeter of the playground is coming apart. It's falling down. Security lighting for both Chapman Park and McKinley, if possible, just security lighting, not light up the whole park, just something to deter people from being in there at night, doing activities that are ultimately causing damage for the kids during the day, trash, condoms, drug paraphernalia, all kinds of things. The other, we wanted to find out if there's something we can do to file a petition to name the neighborhood rather than referring to it as the 7-1 or the Lansdowne section or the Sliver or the Boot or any of the other nicknames for the neighborhood, since it doesn't actually have a name. And lastly, as you're probably aware, we're the Upper Darby Community Heroes, the new organization that came from last year's Trunk or Treat, is hosting a fundraising event at the high school on the 22nd. I just wanted to assure the township that we're not doing anything that impacts public property or township property or roadway. And in fact, we will be closing the 2 non-traffic light entrances to curb any traffic issues that may occur. And we will only have the traffic light entrances open. And that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Dobbins?
Council President Wentz and Mr. Clark, I just wanted to mention that according to the neighborhood map in the comprehensive plan, the area that is the 7-1 is actually referred to as the Chapman Park neighborhood, and the area that's referred to as the 7-6 is referred to as the Fernwood neighborhood, if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Clark, for bringing your concerns. We did get your what you sent to the request line, and I know that multiple council members have spoken to you, myself included, in the past, and have gone and toured McKinley Park with you. Mayor Keffer and I did go for a walk of McKinley Park and talked, I believe at one point in time, I feel like my brains blending, but we have discussed the fence, the issues with the fence, and a lot of the issue and the swamp, the small swamp that gets created when it rains in the middle of that park. So those are, there are there's also things in motion for improving Chapman Park. So thank you very much for bringing these issues to our attention again. And we will definitely be working to fix and problem solve. It's important that these parks are in good condition for our residents to enjoy. So thank you. Okay, so did the first resident who signed up, did she join us?
No, no other people who signed up have joined.
Okay, great. Then public comment is completed. So thank you very much for that assistance. Okay, so next up, we have the approval of minutes for the committee meeting of April 7th, 2021. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I would like to make a motion to approve meeting of April 7th.
Ms. Phillips and Sadiq. Okay, are there any questions or concerns on the minutes of April 7th, 2021? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer. Take it away, Mayor.
I had to unmute myself, Council President Wentz, before you told me to. So good evening, everyone. We have a couple updates. This Saturday, Upper Darby residents are invited to bring confidential shredding materials and e-waste such as unwanted laptops, cell phones, and other personal devices to our identity theft protection event at Upper Darby High School. It will start at 9 a.m. and go to 12 p.m. or until the trucks are full. And we're observing COVID-19 safety protocols, so please keep a distance of 6 feet from others and wear a mask at all times. There is a limit of 2 boxes of shredding materials per vehicle, and please note that we are not able to accept televisions at this event. Following up on my previous comments about the zoning hearing board and the proposed development of the Thompson tract, I've seen the full presentation, which also includes the gift of over 3 acres to the township as real open space and not just undeveloped private land. And while we would like to see new housing inventory and environmentally conscious development, my administration does not support this project at this time. That being said, I just wanted to reiterate that the zoning hearing board is quasi-judicial, it's independent, it's comprised of Upper Darby residents, and the board hears each and every application, and anyone is able to submit an application to the zoning hearing board. And the board makes decisions based on the merits of each application. So as mayor, I do not dictate how the zoning hearing board votes. The zoning hearing board exists to provide checks and balances so that all applicants are assured a fair process. One of the many pluses of looking at and thinking about this project resulted in my submission to PennDOT to do a safety study focused on that stretch of Providence Road, which encompasses the Thompson tract, the Penn Pines, Rosedale, and Hilldale neighborhoods. So I look forward to hearing PennDOT's findings and recommendations about speeding in that area. My office has been contacted by a nonprofit organization called Forum Philly with a request to support the Delaware County Juneteenth observance and community fair that is being planned for Saturday, June 19th at Upper Darby High School. We are pleased to support this event, which is intended to celebrate African-American culture and history, and which is permitted through the school district. We encourage Upper Darby residents and organizations to do so as well. Please direct any questions about this event to Reverend Dr. Malcolm Bird via email at forumphilly@gmail.com. So it's forumphilly, FORUMPHILLY@gmail.com. And it is my honor to issue 2 proclamations this evening. The first is in recognition of Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, which runs May 2nd through May 8th. And I think this one is real important, given that we're already, a year and a month or two, and still living within, with COVID, with the pandemic. Whereas because good mental health is a vital component in a child's overall development and well-being, Children's Mental Health Week provides the opportunity to focus on this important matter while celebrating the accomplishments of children and families affected by mental health concerns. And whereas, according to the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 6 children between ages 2 and 8 is diagnosed with a mental health condition. And whereas research has shown that the early identification and appropriate treatment of mental health disorders among children and adolescents provide them with better opportunities to lead full and productive lives. And whereas children and adolescents with mental health challenges and their families benefit from access to timely services and support systems that are family-driven, youth-guided, and culturally appropriate, they also benefit from the integration of behavioral health in primary care, education, and child welfare. And whereas it is important that children and adolescents, along with their families and communities, learn about warning signs of mental health disorders and where to obtain necessary assistance and treatment. And whereas it is imperative that schools, healthcare providers, families, and the community at large work together to erase the stigma that may accompany mental health challenges in children and adolescents. Now, therefore, I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week in Upper Darby Township, and encourage my fellow residents to recognize and participate in its observance. The second proclamation is in recognition of May 2021 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas the heritage of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders was initially honored by the federal government in 1978. In 1992, the recognition of their heritage was expanded to a month-long observance in the United States. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have histories and cultures that are thousands of years old, and whereas the month of May was chosen to commemorate the first recorded immigration of people from Japan to the United States in May 1843, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10th, 1869, by a majority of Chinese immigrant workers who laid the tracks. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have enriched our social, intellectual, and artistic life in the United States, and whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have made valuable contributions to all areas of life in Delaware County, including government, business, arts and sciences, medicine, education, law enforcement, and the military. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month helps us to appreciate the diversity of our residents in Upper Darby, and by recognizing their contributions to our community, we acknowledge the importance of inclusion as we strive to create a better future for everyone. Whereas all ethnic groups have made significant contributions to our country, the recent dramatic spike in violence and hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders during the COVID-19 pandemic has heightened the need for awareness of the discrimination they are facing on a daily basis. Now, therefore, I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor of Upper Darby Township, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Upper Darby Township, and I urge the entire community to recognize and participate in its observance. Yesterday, Governor Wolf announced that the current COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted effective Memorial Day, May 31st. Once Pennsylvania reaches a 70% vaccination rate among adults, the mask mandate will be lifted as well. If you have not yet received the COVID-19 vaccine, please call 484-276-2100. That's 484-276-2100, or visit delcopa.gov/vax, VAX, to register for an appointment. It is vitally important that everyone gets vaccinated as soon as possible so that we can get back to life without masks. If you need to schedule an appointment and are having any difficulty doing so, please email mayor@upperdarby.org or call 610-734-7625. That's 610-734-7625. We are all in this together and we are here to help. Speaking of help, it is my pleasure to thank everyone associated with the Upper Darby Summer Stage program who's worked so hard to make it possible to offer opportunities for children to attend the summer. So thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mayor Keffer. Thank you for those proclamations and those updates and the events that you're working on. So next up is for myself, Council President Wentz. I just want to say thank you to all the groups and volunteers who have attended cleanups throughout the township. A special thanks to the Highland Park Firehouse and firefighters and Fire Chief Sawyer for coming out to multiple cleanups and so forth. We greatly appreciate your assistance. I also want to thank the events committee for hosting a job fair on May 25th, 2021. They will be giving you more details during their committee report. Also want to remind everyone that election day is May 18th for the primary. The county is working on fixing the ballot box that is in front of the township building. I'd like to thank Scott Alberts, Director of Administrative Services, in helping to resolve the issues with that ballot box. There also to let people know that there are ballot questions on the ballot that can be answered, that any voter, any registered voter can go and answer those questions. So just wanted to make sure people knew about that. Our next council meeting is on May 26, 2020, not the day after the election, but a week later. Just wanted to remind everyone of that at 7 p.m. We will only have in-person public comment at the meeting, so you must register in order to participate. You can register between 12 p.m. May 25th and 6:55 p.m. on May 26th to speak during the public forum. So just wanted to remind people of that. So I just wanted to, so that's all I had. So next up, we have committee reports. Public Safety Committee co-chairs Ms. Blackwell and Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Burke. Members, Councilman Tunis Jr. and Councilman Silva. Our first resolution to discuss this evening, it will be read to us by Solicitor Kilkenny, Resolution 24-21.
Unmute myself. There we go. There we go. All right. Whereas ordinance number 11, resolution 2421. Whereas ordinance number 1156 of the Upper Darby Township provides the traffic shall come to a stop before entering or crossing certain streets and highways in the township and impose penalties for the violation thereof. Now therefore be it resolved that ordinance 1156 is hereby amended by adding section 1, the following: install stop signs at the following locations: on Landfair Road, at the intersection with Keystone Avenue, resolved this day in council chambers. And that concludes my reading.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Councilman Gwynn?
I am in favor of this resolution because it is in my community. And I know that at this point, there are no stop signs, and anybody that's been up to an intersection, it's a little hairy when they have both people thinking they have the right of way. So this will give some guidance as to what they should be doing. I'd like to move this resolution to be at the council meeting and approved.
Okay, are there any other council members that have any questions or concerns on this resolution? Okay, Councilman Burke, would you like to pull your committee on this?
Sure. Does anybody from the committee have anything to say about the stop sign?
No.
Anybody from council? Thank you. Would like to move forward to May 26th.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
And then do you want to continue with your committee report?
Yep. So just to let everybody know, Public Safety Committee will have a meeting tomorrow night. We will be discussing the report that the volunteer fire department had given Chief Sawyer. We'll have a meeting and we'll be informed about the financial responsibility of the volunteer firefighter, it's actually the junior firefighters. So we'll have more information after we have our meeting tomorrow with Assistant Chief Johnson. Does anybody from the committee have anything to bring forward tonight? Anybody from council have anything to bring forward tonight? Chief Sawyer, I see you there tonight. Do you have anything to bring forward to public safety?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. President Wentz concludes the Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have the Finance and Appropriations Committee. Co-chairs Councilman Gwynn and Silva. Members Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Burke. Solicitor Kilkenny, can you give a reading of Resolution 26-21? I think on our agenda it said 21, or sorry,
It's a
12.
little inverted. Yep.
Yep.
A resolution of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, approving the application for the Walk Works grant. Whereas Upper Darby Township has long recognized the importance of its unique and walkable neighborhoods. Whereas in its most recent comprehensive plan, the township has identified the improvement of the community's walkable amenities enhancements as one of the guiding principles. Whereas the isolated and stationary measures required to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 has reinforced the importance of a walkable community in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Whereas the sedentary lifestyle imposed upon the community due to COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the important health benefits of walkable community. Whereas Upper Darby Township believes it to the interest of the township to apply for the WalkWorks grant and utilize funding to help the development of policies such as the Complete Streets or Vision Zero that includes language in support of environmental changes for enhancing places for physical activity with an emphasis on walking, biking, and wheeling and public transit. Now, therefore, be it resolved that is, by Upper Darby Township Council, the Chief Administrative Officer or his designee is hereby authorized to apply for the WalkWorks grant. 2, the Chief Administrative Officer or his designee is hereby authorized to utilize the funding if received in accordance with the WalkWorks grant adopted and resolved this day in council chambers. And that concludes my reading.
Great, Councilman Silva.
Yeah, I would like to move this motion if I can.
Yes. Okay, great. You guys were jumping the gun on me. I didn't get a chance to prep it. So yes, thank you. So resolution moved by Councilman Silva and seconded by Councilman Gwynn. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Because the application is due before our next meeting. We need to approve this resolution this evening. Just wanted to clarify that. Any questions or concerns? Councilman Gwynn?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but I just was wondering, do we have any idea as to the amounts that they are looking to make available to communities?
That is something I do not know. I know perhaps Ms. Dobbins might know.
Yeah, so honestly, Councilman Gwynn, I just don't have that off the top of my head, but I will make sure that you get a copy of the application.
And are these usually a matching grant?
It's an insignificant match. This is for doing an RFP to bring a company in to help us do a complete streets policy and a complete streets study. So it's certainly something that we're going to be able to handle within our budget.
And the last thing associated with it, there are several streets within the township that do not have sidewalks. They weren't required at the time. Will we be looking to improve providing them sidewalks in those areas?
So that's not something that we would answer within the scope of this grant application. That's the point of bringing in outside consultant to do the policy itself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 26-21, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. It is approved. Great.
Is there anybody else on the committee who has something for this body? Anybody else on council to bring for this body? Anybody in the administration? Seeing none, hearing none, I'm moving forward.
Great, thank you. Next up is Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee. Co-chairs Councilman Gwynn Jr. and Councilwoman Billups. Members Councilman Bonnet and Councilman Tunis Jr. Solicitor Richardson, can you please give us a reading of Resolution 27-21?
Thank you, President Wentz. This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township.
We lost you.
Adjustments for the properties. Did you? You can't hear me?
You were cutting in and out. I'm going to mute some council members, and I think that'll help because you often have run into that interference. So I'm muting myself and go for it.
Okay. Can you hear me before you do so? Perfect. Thank you. This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township amending the final subdivision of MC Investments and lot line adjustment for the properties located at 8645 and 8649 Westchester Pike. The MC is the owner of 89 Westchester Pike, Upper Darby Township, and the applicant proposes to subdivide its existing lot to convey a portion of an existing building that overhangs the lot line. The existing building faces the applicant's property and has historically been used in connection with the applicant's property, but is located over the adjacent property at 8645 Westchester Pike. The applicant additionally proposes to reverse subdivide two parcels into one parcel. And whereas the applicant has caused to be prepared and filed with the township a certain boundary and subdivision plan for the project dated May 11, 2016, as last revised November 2nd, 2020, called the plan. Whereas the lot line adjustment will create a more conforming lot than what previously existed, and the project has been previously approved by Township Council by motion on July 20th, 2016. Whereas applicant now desires council to approve the plan pursuant to section 508 of the Municipalities Planning Code. Now therefore be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that the plan is hereby granted subdivision approval subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. One, prior to the recording of the plan, applicant must address to the satisfaction of the township engineer the comments and conditions contained in the December 1st, 2020 MG engineering review letter to the extent such comments are not already addressed by the latest version of the plan. Two, a revised recordable plan shall be ultimately submitted for township administrative review and approval that addresses all requests for further plan details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letter. 3, all outstanding township fees, township engineering fees, and township legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of the application and plan shall be paid in full before the plan is recorded in accordance with Section 503 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. 4, new deeds for the lots must be approved by the township engineer and thereafter recorded contemporaneously with the recording of the plans. This resolution and approvals and conditions contained herein shall be rescinded automatically upon applicants or applicants' agents' failure to accept in writing all conditions herein imposed within 7 days of receipt of this resolution, such exceptions to be evidenced by applicants or applicants' agent's signature below. So ends the reading.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? I'm just curious why, if it was a project that was revised in 2016, why they didn't make those changes then, and why is it coming to us now? Out of curiosity.
So from my understanding, President Wentz, it has changed slightly since 2016. If you note in one of the whereas clauses, it was updated as of November 2nd of 2020. So Mike, our engineer, took a look at it. So I'm not sure what exactly changes were made, but some changes were in fact made. I don't know if Mike is actually on to.
Yep, he's here. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so we understood that this was approved by motion previously. However, since it's been so long and they never recorded the plan, we thought that it was best to get an updated resolution. When our office took a look at the plan, we had the applicant add additional survey so we could get a full scope and view of the site. And ultimately, I think the resolution speaks for itself. The applicant just wants to clean up the lot and eliminate some of the inconsistencies to make a more conforming site. Ultimately, they're probably in the act of selling it, is my guess. So they need to get this done in order to complete that transaction. But I'm not sure why they didn't record it earlier on. And that's, they just didn't do it at that time for whatever reason. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Okay, not seeing any. Councilman Gwynn, do you want to poll your committee to see if they're good with moving this forward to the 26th?
Okay. Come on. Okay. Members of the committee, what is your favor? You wish this to move forward?
I'm good with it, Bob.
Okay.
With this moving forward.
A piece.
I'm comfortable with this moving forward.
Danielle?
It's Miss Phillips.
Michelle?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it moving forward too. Yes.
Okay, and I am as well. Okay, and I'd like to see this resolution move forward to the 26th committee meeting.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we also have another resolution for your committee, right? Yes. So Sister Kilkenny, can you give us a reading of resolution 28-21?
Let me unmute myself. Sure. Hold on a second. Yep. And this relates to 8201 Lansdowne, which we just had the presentation from before. So I am going to read the other language. The whereas clauses just set some of the parameters of what has been submitted, what zoning district they're in. So I'm going to start with the therefore portion, which is the binding portion of the resolution. The Upper Darby Township Council that the plan is hereby granted preliminary final plan development approval subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. I just want to be aware that this is still a work in progress. This is not meant to be the full resolution. It will be revised after going to committee and as we get some more information, but you saw the presentation this evening. 1, prior to recording the plan, applicants shall address the comments and concerns contained in the April 22nd, 2021 MG engineering review letter for the satisfaction of the township engineer. 2, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall address all applicable comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department review letter for the satisfaction of the township engineer. 3, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall address all applicable comments contained in the April 20th, 2021 Albert Federico Consulting LLC traffic engineering review letter for the satisfaction of the township traffic engineer. 4, applicants must obtain any necessary approvals and reviews from the township engineer, township traffic engineer, Delaware County Planning Department, DEP, PennDOT, or any other necessary outside agency, and obtain any necessary planning modules, approvals, or permits before the plan is recorded. 5, applicant must complete all required easements and/or maintenance agreements or declarations, including but not limited to a stormwater management facilities operation and maintenance agreement form satisfactory to the township engineer and township solicitor prior to recording the plan. Applicant will provide all necessary legal descriptions for any necessary easements. 6, a revised recordable plan shall ultimately be submitted for the township's administrative review and approval that addresses all requirements for further plans, details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letters. 7, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall execute a land development agreement and financial security agreement drafted by the township solicitor and post financial security in the form of a letter of credit, tri-party agreement set aside, or cash escrow in the form approved by the township solicitor. 8, all reasonable outstanding fees, township engineering fees and township legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of the application and plan shall be paid in full before the plan is recorded in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. 9, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall deposit a reasonable sum to be determined by the township engineer and a cash escrow with the township as to further to be described in the land development and financial security agreements for the reason for reimbursement of the township's reasonable engineering, inspection, legal, and related administrative costs and expenses related to the following reviews, inspections, and development of the project. There are a couple waivers. Waiver number 1, the following requested waivers from the township's subdivision land development ordinance and stormwater ordinance are hereby approved or denied. 1, section 300-1, that the preliminary plan and final plan be considered separate submissions is hereby either approved or denied. Section 703(8) and 703(c) to prevent certain existing roof drains on the property that continue to remain as installed when such sections prohibit roof drains from connecting directly to streets, sanitary and storm sewers or roadside districts is hereby either approved or denied. This resolution shall bind the applicant's successor, and assigns applicant's agent failure to accept in writing all conditions herein imposed within 7 days of the receipt of this resolution. Such acceptance is to be evidenced by applicants or applicant's agent's signature below. Resolved this day in council chambers. That concludes my reading of the resolution.
Thank you. Mr. Galante, can you give us a little clarification on the waivers and what your thoughts are on the waivers?
Yeah, the 2 waivers that were discussed, preliminary final land development, that's a pretty standard waiver for this type of development. They're only doing minor building improvements and some major site work, but at this point, it's pretty typical for most developments. I don't take an objection to that. We are working with the applicant to separate the roof drains for the second waiver to make sure that, to the maximum extent practical on the site, we're separating the roof drains and allowing them to discharge on the grass prior to discharge into the system. Part of that is implementation of the rain garden and other green features on site. But some are just pre-existing, and essentially it's more of an existing non-conformity. But we're still working in some of those circumstances to disconnect and allow them to drain on the grass prior to discharge. But when you're doing a redevelopment, sometimes it makes it more difficult. So the applicant, we're still working on stormwater comments, but there may be a waiver for a few of the roof leaders. So we kept it on there.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution by council members? I see Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you. Thank you. I certainly don't have any objections to this proposed development and on its merits. I think it seems to be certainly an aesthetic improvement. I can't address the functional aspects of it. That's something between the architect and the school district. But as I commented during or right after the presentation, I see some enhancements to the layout of the site, of course, particularly with the ability to have cleaner access to the community used ball field in the back of the property by virtue of the fact that the buses are being removed from that section of the parking area. And that parking area is going to be dedicated strictly to cars and I'm sure light trucks, like pickup trucks that are owned by occupants of the building. And that parking thus becomes available to anyone that cares to attend a sporting event there at the field. So, on the merits of the development itself, I don't have any issue. One thing that I implied earlier is that I think we as a planning, zoning, and building code committee should have the opportunity to look at these projects. And I understand, President Wentz, your comments, and I certainly have no issue with that, except that ordinarily, when a project of this type is presented, we have 2 weeks to react between hearing about it at a committee meeting and taking action at a council meeting to approve. In this case, this particular project is a good deal different from most land development or subdivision projects. Although this is not a subdivision, this is a land development and a building project. In this case, where most such projects are privately funded, this particular project is being paid for by the public. It's paid for by the taxpayer of Upper Darby, and even further reaching into the other communities that are part of the Upper Darby School District. I think we need to do a better job on major development projects of this type. And even though this is considered somewhat of a smaller project in that it's most of the work is involving improvements within an existing structure, and it's being converted to, I think, a more favorable use than currently exists there now. In that, the school district offices will be relocated there, and that is a direct result of the Aronimink School project, which will consume all the space now occupied by the central administration of the school district. So I think we need to afford the community, particularly in a case like where the community is paying for a project, the opportunity to comment on it. And I think we have to create that opportunity, that venue for them to do so on significant projects. We did that with the, for instance, the Drexel Line Shopping Center project with the community. We invited the community to meetings where the developer had an opportunity to present. Tonight, we had a good presentation. However, it's not known by most people in Upper Darby Township, I would bet, that this was going to be on the agenda tonight. I didn't know about it, as a matter of fact, until this evening. I think that this was added to the agenda late this afternoon, and was the first time I became aware of this project as a councilman. So I have to assume that, except for, as the architect commented, that they met with local residents in the nearby adjacent community. I'm not sure the general taxpayer in Upper Darby Township has had an opportunity to comment. And I think they need to have that opportunity. And I know I would ask the chairs of our Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee to at least let us have an internal discussion among committee members about this and about going forward. I would suggest that, and I'll suggest this more at the committee level, that the district council person, wherever a development of this type or any type for that matter is going to take place, be given an advance copy of the land development plan. These plans are all available in digital format. They can be easily transmitted in a PDF form, and any one of us can open them up on our individual computers so we can get a good opportunity to peruse the plans and generate questions in advance of a meeting. So constructively, I would like to ask that our committee chairs, if we could have at least a discussion in general terms about process going forward, about projects like this. But again, I take I have no issue right now with this particular project. I think it is an enhancement to the property.
So just a clarification, because our council meeting is not until the 26th of May, there are 3 weeks between now and then. So there is a little bit more time. And then during the public forum part of that meeting will be an opportunity of residents to ask more questions. And we will also be giving those who presented this evening on this development an opportunity to follow up on anything else they needed us to know or anything they wanted to emphasize on at that next meeting, as we have been doing on previous land developments on the pattern that we had created for that. Solicitor Kilkenny, you wanted to make a comment?
Again, thank you very much, Council President Wentz. I know we just got this request, I believe, in late last week. And because I know you had originally said to me, I know is your practice to send it to committee first, but based on the fact that there was a lag time, you didn't want this project lagging and thought if they could put a presentation together and we could get a 90% solution of a resolution together, we could. So my office did do that. And one of the other things I did want to bring to council and administration's attention is, many other communities that I represent have a planning commission, a separate from, in Delaware County, a lot of places rely on the planning department, which is great, and they provide great resources. In several other counties where I'm solicitor, and not just Monco, and Bucks and Chester, most of the communities also have their own planning commission. So there's review, an opportunity for additional public input. And I know this is something the Mayor Keffer and the administration has asked me. I know we started a planning committee, but the MPC provides for a planning commission, which is a much more formal process. And I know the mayor has asked me to do research about implementing that eventually for Upper Darby. So hopefully that would also give the opportunity for more public input.
And I do believe that our Planning, Zoning, Building Committee, in the absence of a formal planning commission, can serve in that capacity. One thing I find a little bit curious is apparently this project's been around a while, because tonight I also received the Delaware County Planning Commission notes of their review. And that is dated December 18th of 2020. So I don't know why the lapse in time between then and now us just becoming aware of it, but that's something we can talk about at the committee level.
Yeah.
Mayor Keffer, did you want to weigh in? I thought I saw your hand.
No, just the planning committee was voted on by council, I think, early to mid 2020. And we are working towards building a full-fledged committee on this project. And this is something that maybe Councilman Bennett and I disagree on, but one of the other things that we're doing is trying to, or my administration is doing, is trying to acknowledge and create clean lines between the district and the township. So this is a district project, and in my opinion, it's not, it doesn't change, not much changes in terms of like how it's funded. That is really up to the school district to do and not council. But that's just, again, that's my opinion on this project and you know, Aronimink, the middle school, that those are school district projects, and it's not, I don't think that council or the administration needs to weigh in and decide on the merits of a project based on how it's funded. We fund our own projects here in the township, and the school district is in charge of funding their projects. So,
and I certainly concur that it's not our responsibility to deal with funding, but knowing that our taxpayer is responsible to pay for this project, I think we have a slightly broadened responsibility as a council. And I do believe we as a council, and by the way, it's only the council that can approve this. It's not the administration, although I do support that the administration review these projects. The staff of the administration should have input, particularly our Department of L&I and also our engineering department, our township engineer. And I certainly rely on them to provide their insights, their technical knowledge in review of these projects and offer advice to the council. But at the end of the day, it is only the township council that can approve this.
Councilman Wagner, sorry.
I'm wondering what the hurry is. Maybe I missed something here, but is there a reason why this has to be acted upon by our council this month? Like Councilman Bonnet, I don't have any particular objection to the project, but I know I only heard about this tonight. I don't know how many members of the public, people living in my district or in other districts, are aware of it or are informed about it. And so I don't have any idea whether their feelings are opposed or in favor of this project. I suggest that we put this off, table it, if you will, at least until the June council meeting, thereby providing enough opportunity for the public really to become informed about this project, which I submit it most likely is not up until now, and to let them have the opportunity to weigh in.
Mr. Godshall, would you like to speak on this? Thank you for still being here. I realized you were still here with us, so thank you.
Yeah, I am. I guess I didn't have the opportunity to talk about the schedule, but this project is part of a phased group of projects. And I think it's been alluded to that the Aronimink project is currently under construction. By Memorial Day 2022, the administration suite of Aronimink has to be vacated. Those administrators need to come to this facility. So the schedule that's been outlined, and I know that I'm not trying to get in the middle of the township conversation, but the schedule that's been outlined is that this project needs to be bid in May so that it can be awarded and start construction by July and give ourselves adequate time to renovate this building and make the necessary improvements to the site. One complication to this is, as I had noted, there are existing functions in this building. The maintenance department and the bus maintenance and transportation department. Those facilities have to stay functional during this renovation, which means that we're talking about doing this as phased renovation. So it's not one clean renovation, it's two renovation projects. One to create the new space for those functions, move them into it, then one phase to renovate the rest of it. So we are tight on time. And at this point, we were looking to get out to bid at the end of this month. Pushing this back to June would obviously put a lot of pressure on this construction project, which leads to higher prices from contractors and more concerns that we don't meet the deadline we need for May of 2022 to have this facility ready to be occupied.
I appreciate the answer to my question, but I have to say, if this project has to be bid in May, I'm very disturbed on behalf of our public that it was presented for the first time to the town council for approval in the month of May. It's not appropriate.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes, thank you. I've been listening in, and I decided to jump on this at this portion of the meeting tonight. And I just want to say that I respect everybody's work and what they're doing in the township to try to make the improvements. And I guess my comments will be short and simple. Again, when I join these meetings over the projects that the school district has in play, and I appreciate Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer acknowledging that the school district is doing their part and the township is doing their part to improve the community. The school district stance is we presented this project on more than one occasion for public comment and public conversation in our process and procedures through our committee meetings and board meetings to get to this point. So to say that there has not been opportunities for public input or public comment is not accurate. There have been many, many conversations and opportunities for public input and conversations. This project has been tied to many of the moving parts in the multi-year, multi-phase facility improvements for the school district. So again, I disagree with Councilman Wagner and Councilman Bonnet in these calls. When the school district projects come up, it seems to be that there seems to be some slowing of the projects for other reasons.
Oh,
but
come
in my perspective, they have been discussed publicly time and time again. In every presentation we've made, this has come up as one of the many necessary steps. So I just want you to know that we have allowed public input as appropriate before our board has approved the project to get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Tunis?
Once or
Sorry, I can't hear you. Councilman Tunis? Having technical difficulties. Try again. Nope. Try again.
Can you hear me?
Yep. And then your video pops out, but we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, all right. So I was just gonna say if we could just pull the committee to see if we can move this forward. It seems like we've heard how we generally feel about it. I was just wondering if Chairman Gwynn or Chairwoman Billon feel comfortable just polling the committee and seeing if we can move this forward.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's talk with the committee. Michelle,
Yeah, I'm okay with moving forward.
Hafiz,
Yes, I'm fine with moving this forward.
Council, Mr. Burnett.
I am certainly interested in moving this forward, but I'm not finished with my comments. I would like to have more comment about this, if I may.
I yield the floor to you.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate what Dr. McGarry said, and I respect that, and it's good to know, and that's the kind of input we need to have. We need to know that the community is aware of these things. We have a little different responsibility when it comes to land developments, when it comes to subdivisions, when it comes to general building projects, particularly of some significance. And as I said, particularly when the taxpayers involved in funding the project, I think we need to work in concert with the school district. And from our standpoint, our review is a little bit more technical in terms of land development, in terms of development, in terms of building code, et cetera, than the school district is. And I'm sure the school district did a fine job of making the community aware of the project, or at least attempted to, and during school board meetings discuss this. But again, we have a different responsibility, and we can't ignore that responsibility. We have to honor it. We have to honor it on behalf of our constituents, the taxpayer of Upper Darby. In most cases, we have the same taxpayers, and we need to give them the opportunity to discuss the technical aspects of a project, and perhaps learning a little bit more than what might be discussed at a school board meeting is about the technicalities of a particular development project. So I don't take issue with Dr. McGarry at all, but I do feel that we need to express ourselves in terms of different technicalities about a project, and we need to give our community the opportunity to respond to those technicalities. I am interested in moving this forward at some point. And suppose something comes up, and I think we have the luxury of an additional week. We do have 3 weeks, as President Wentz said. So that is a benefit to us. So I think what we need to do is we need to act swiftly. But my comments are chiefly not just to address this particular project. I just think we need to talk about different availability of information going forward on projects of all types, not specifically just this project.
Fine.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Actually, Councilman Gwynn, we have a few more council members that have raised their hands, so I wanted to go to Councilman Silva because he hasn't spoken yet on this issue. Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I think my colleague, Mr. Burnett raises some interesting points, and I believe though that those points would be better served by law and government, because that seems more like where that, where procedural matters would rest. I'm not sure how that necessarily relates to this direct motion, and it does seem like 3 of the committee members would like to move this forward to the 26th. So, and it seems like Mr. Burnett's into, moving this forward too. So, but I do believe his concerns could be better addressed if Councilwoman Billups agrees by law and government and procedures.
Ms. Billups, you are next in line to speak anyway, so.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Was there anything else you wanted, any other comment you wanted to make on this resolution?
So yes, thank you. My only comment is, I think Dr. McGarry, he explained everything, so I'm not sure why we're still discussing it, and I think we're okay with moving it to the 26th. So can we move the question?
Yeah, we're not voting on it. So yeah, I mean, as long as the chair is and the committee is cool with moving it forward, then we can do that. So go ahead, Chair. Chairs.
Well, I'm the co-chair, so.
Yes, you're the co-chair, so.
Yeah.
You stated your vote and I get a chance to do mine too.
Yeah.
I'd like to move this forward. I think we do have the time, and I think, Don, as you would like to see the electronic version of things, I would too. I know we've seen drawings, paper copies of the drawings, and they've been available. I think we ought to move this forward and move it for the committee meeting of the 26th.
Council meeting.
Council meeting of the 26th.
26th, yeah.
And can we get I know I kind of mentioned it before, but can we get a copy of your presentation, your PowerPoint presentation, so that council can review it? Is that okay?
Absolutely. We'll have that to you tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So we're all good to move this forward. Law and government will discuss a policy on how council should be notified about land developments in the future, and so forth, right? That covers that. So Councilman Quinn and Billups, would you like to continue on the report of your committee?
Does anybody else have anything for this committee?
Councilman Tunis does.
A piece?
Yes, I just want to check in with Councilwoman Billups. We wanted to meet with the solicitors. I want to know if we could meet discussing some zoning questions, and just seeing there's a nearby town we can schedule a meeting with either, assuming more than likely Solicitor Richardson or Kilkenny.
Sure, just give us proposed dates and either me or Courtney or John Walco, one of us will be available. Yes.
How do we have to do that? Through Vince?
I'm sorry?
Do we do that through Vince and Allison?
I would shoot us an email if it's okay. I mean, the mayor and Vince are, you're bringing up in a meeting if it's a legitimate zoning question. I would just shoot me and Courtney dates that you have, CC Vince, and that should suffice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for your committee?
I was going to ask the rest of the council if they have anything for this committee. Anybody in the administration have anything for this committee? Seeing none, hearing none, we're moving forward.
Great, thank you. Next up is Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee, co-chairs Tunis Jr. and Silva, members Billups and Siddiq. There are no resolutions, so take it away.
All right, thank you, Council President. Does anyone have, and does any members of the committee have anything to bring forward to Public Health or Environmental Affairs at this time? Do any members of council?
I have.
Bob had his hand up before me, but I'm after him.
Oh, I have a item that I'd like to see them possibly address. I know we have our situation with trash and things blowing around the community, particularly on recycling. I'd like us to look forward to finding out if we can get cans or containers for recycling material that might be lidded and what those costs might be for the community, because we do have a lot of materials that are getting wet when it rains, creating added paperweight that we wet paper that we have to pay for. Secondly, we have the light bottles that get blown out and various items of trash that do get blown because of the type of containers that we're using. I'd like to find out if there might be something a little bit better, more effective for our community, and what price that might be.
Or maybe if there are lids that could go on the cans that we currently have, which would probably be less expensive than getting a whole new set of cans with lids.
Whatever works.
Okay.
What we have right now doesn't work very well.
Okay. Ms. Dobbins?
Yeah, so Councilman Gwynn, the administration is already exploring that. We are a recipient of a recycling performance grant, and we are exploring, like, hopefully if that contract does come out and we are awarded the money, we will be able to potentially address that situation. Lids specifically.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the information. Hafiz.
Councilman Tunis, sorry.
So I just emailed this to all council members with the exception of Councilman Bonnet. I'm just waiting for the proper email. If you can get that to me, I'll get this to you also. Latino Connection, in a partnership with Delaware County and State Representative Margot Davidson, is doing a vaccination clinic in Berkeley Square, Upper Darby, on May 19th and May 20th. If you have any questions, I sent you guys a flyer with some information, and I just figured it fit in public health. So,
thank you. Would you like to continue with your committee?
I'm sorry, Council President. Do any members of the administration have anything to bring forward to Public Health? Okay, hearing none, I believe that is that completes the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Municipal Services, Licensing and Public Works Committee, co-chairs Siddiq and Tunis Jr., members Wagner and Burke.
Councilman Siddiq, would you like to take lead?
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask all the committee members if they have anything to put on the table. Mr. Burke.
Yep, Councilman Burke.
Thank you, Siddiq. My question is, where are we at with the spending of the capital funds in the public works area and the municipal services? Are we 100% go on that, or we're still waiting for all the funds?
Ms. Dobbins?
We have received the funds and we have begun the spending. Obviously, some of these projects require RFPs or a bidding process, and so it will take time, but you should be pleased to know that Public Works in particular has put in several requests and made some purchases, and things are moving. Chief Sawyer has also begun exploring some of the vehicles that they need. So we definitely are moving forward with the capital improvement projects.
Would it be possible that we get a updated, not just in our council meetings, but each individual committee would get updated how the money is spent since we approved the money? And we are late getting the money started. We are in the 5th month, just so we know what's going on.
We can look into that, sure.
Thank you.
Councilman Quinn.
In response,
You're muted. I didn't do it that time.
okay, now I think I can be heard. In response to what Mr. Burke had said, that should be in the monthly reports, the financial reports that we get in terms of the dollars that are budgeted and any encumbrance or commitment of those dollars to the things, as well as the purchasing. The report for April is not yet available, at least wasn't earlier today.
No, we now get those reports on the council meeting side of the equation to give them more time to create those. Because the first Wednesday of the month is too close to the end of the month before for all those numbers to be crunched in time to be given to council. So we'll get those numbers for the meeting on the 26th. But I think that Councilman Burke was asking for a more detailed line item version of that instead of the general amounts that are going to the different departments. He's looking for specifics of what's being purchased, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be by the budget that they originally were approved by.
Yes, but we want to see that they're being purchased, that the items are being purchased and when they're being purchased versus just what was budgeted specific. Am I correct, Councilman Burke, of my interpretation of what you're looking for?
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. Correct, 100%.
Okay.
Anybody else? None. I don't see none, and that's conclude the report.
Actually, Councilman Siddiqui, you just want to check with the rest of council to see if they have anything for your committee.
Sure. Anybody in the council have anything in this matter? I don't see none, Madam President.
Thank you.
That's conclude my report.
Great, thank you. So next up, we have Law and Government and Rules and Procedures Committee, co-chairs Phillips and Silva, members Siddiq and Blackwell.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This time, do any members of the committee have anything to bring forward?
No.
This time. Yes, Councilwoman Blackwell.
I said no. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said yes. Okay. Do any
I'm
members
fine.
of?
I am fine, Mr. Silva.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Siddiq. Do any members of council have anything to bring forward to Law and Government? Seeing none, hearing none.
Actually, I do. So someone was talking about trash and recycling and lids. So I don't know if this is something that we can do, or I'm probably going to get not too many likes when I'm about to ask. Is it possible to because it's a lot of littering in Upper Darby? Is it possible to propose fines for littering?
think there are fines for littering in the township.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm almost positive if we checked our code of ordinances, there's an ordinance governing that, and it'd be fines. They're in every municipality I'm aware of. So
Are there signs up? Because I haven't seen any signs that says $25 fine for littering or $50 fine for littering.
there's no requirement that there be a sign. We
Is
can
it
go
poss-
ahead.
Is it possible? Is it possible? I'm just saying because I've gone to places where signs were posted to other areas, and not just in Pennsylvania, but in other cities.
Sure, I've seen in
And-
parks and things like that. Yeah,
Right.
I've seen signs like that too. Mhm.
Yeah, and it is a deterrent for, I'm not saying for everyone, but it can set a precedent that people will see those signs because a lot of times I think if, again, I know I might not be people's favorite person if I say this. Thank you, Solicitor Richardson. You on point, girl. Thank you. I think sometimes when a fine is associated, I don't want to be punitive, but I just think that maybe it can help.
Well, I would suggest, Councilor Billups, what we do is myself and Ms. Richardson will look at our codification, find where it deals with littering, forward that to you and the other members of council. As far as signage goes, that's really a policy statement with the administration as to triaging where we think it would probably be most effective to post references to our littering ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify that Ms. Solicitor Richardson put in our chat that chapter 358 of our code covers littering.
She's on it already.
Yeah,
So,
she's got it rolling. The
point.
public can't necessarily see our chat, so I just wanted to share that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Do any other members of council have anything to bring forth to law and government and rules and procedures? I believe, Council President, that concludes our report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Leisure Services Committee Co-Chairs Tunis Jr. and Silva, members Faralia and Blackwell.
Okay, since we don't have any resolutions, I just want to just communicate with Councilman Silva that we should look into some of the things that were spoken about in the public comment today regarding McKinley, Chapman, but also all parks in the township. And I know we've been looking at those things, but we should just continue and try to use whatever residents say and just try to just research and see what we can do, what can be done. So I just want to make members aware that in the near future, we should be covering those subjects. Are there any committee members that have any questions / concerns they'd like to share?
No.
Okay, are there any council members? Councilman Sadiq?
I was talking about the park in my district as well as the parks in whole of Darby Township. If the township taking any initiative to beautification or fix up the things. In I can say the Cardington one. Cardington, the kids' playthings is get rusted and too old, and need to put some mulches, stuff like that. I can call with the township directly, or I can go with this leather services, the park services.
You can always send it to the request line and CC the at-large council members. That's generally what we do. So if you go to a park, you see things that you think are not, that you want, things that you want fixed, you take photos of it, you send it to the request line, you CC us, you CC the mayor, and then that way they can get on it right away. And that's generally what the procedure has been for over the last year.
Yeah, it's not a complaint. It's like a general yearly fix up things, that's because summer starts.
Right, and a lot of residents have been doing cleanups at the Second Ward Playground as well, and have sent in things to the request line in reference to that playground as well, so.
Are there any more questions or concerns from any council members?
Councilman Gwynn.
Councilman Gwynn?
Thank you. I've received a request from a constituent in my district that asked if there is a possibility of Upper Darby putting a basketball court in Nailers Run in one of the areas in that general location, so that they could be directed to play there as opposed to buying one of those rollout hoops and sticking it on the curb that's not really approved by the township as far as a function, because the streets where they're playing, and that should be an area for the traffic where cars and things like that, and that a playground might be a better suited place for it. What is the procedure about getting a basketball court at Nailers Run?
Mayor Keffer, did you want to?
No, thank you, Councilman Gwynn, for bringing this up. I think within the last couple of weeks, the Parks Department has installed a backboard and rim at Parkview Playground. They already had an asphalt surface, and then there's going to be another backboard and rim installed at Westview Playground, where they also have an existing, asphalt surface that wasn't used for anything. At Westview, they're also going to move the lights around, so that they'll be on the area around the two small pavilions that are there. So maybe people will be less discouraged socialize. As far as a process, we're just, I would put a request in, and then we can see what we'll do. We're just sort of, it's not part of it like a master plan for our park system or anything like that. We're just, we're doing things, it's sort of piecemeal. We had the cleanup at Parkview. The head of our Public Works Department went in and looked at it and said, this might be a good place for a backboard and rim. And so then we got one put in there. So, we're open to suggestions about basketball courts or other amenities that we can provide our residents. And I think the best way probably would be a request. So if you would put a request in, Councilman Gwynn, I would CC Joe Martin, right? Because the Parks Division of Public Works handles that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, a couple of years on a similar note, not related to the basketball, but we had a review of 3 of the passive parks and wanted to get certain improvements done there under the previous administration. And they had their money spent basically on the review and the information that they generated from that, but it didn't go any further. There was Michelle Park and 2 that were in the 6th district, as I recall, 6th or 7th.
Yes, one was Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And the other one was Guilford.
Yeah,
and
you got them.
The township, the previous administration had applied to the county for grant money. Those improvements required a 75% match, which is really super expensive on our part.
Wow.
So what we're doing, and because council's voted on the different, the different grant applications, we are trying to work first on bigger parks like Chapman and the Observatory Park and Nailers Run. And then we're just going about it a little bit differently. But I think there's a cleanup at Michelle Park this weekend. Anyway, but we have the identity theft event. So that's where I'm going to be on Saturday. So
Okay.
that's a good question. And we even studies and design plans and things that have been done in the past, we do hold on to them. We're just not ready to implement them right away.
Yeah, and it all takes a lot of money too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 75% match isn't really great. For us, we do try and look for grants that require a 50% match. So it's an ongoing process. But thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dobbins, did you want to weigh in on this or are you all good? Okay. Just wanted to
Is
check.
there any other council members? Seeing none, that's all for me, President Wentz. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next up, we have the Event Planning Committee, co-chairs Billups and Blackwell, and members Tunis Jr. and Silva. Take it away.
Okay, we're having an event on May 25th between 3:30 and 5:30. And if anybody know any employers or vendors who would like to participate in the event, just contact either any members of our committee. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to contact us. The main purpose of this is to get as many jobs as possible for the Upper Darby residents. Does any members have any questions or would like to add to anything?
Thank you so much for hosting this job fair, it being your second virtual job fair. Greatly appreciate you continuing, giving opportunities to our residents to take part in the job fair. So greatly appreciate that.
Okay.
I did see Councilman Siddiq and Gwen. Councilman Siddiq?
Yeah, the Muslim community of Upper Darby as well as Delaware County, they are celebrating their Eid on 12th or 13th. It depends on moon sighting. So we are having that event on Cardington Field with the following CDC guideline, and all are invited. I will confirm the date on Monday because it's on moon sighting. That's why. So please come join with us. It will be on 8:30 in the morning, 12th or 13th, depends on moon sighting. Thank you.
Councilman Gwynn?
I was just going to add a comment that if you make contact with several of the businesses that are looking for people, specifically in wait staff at the restaurants, because as organizations start opening up businesses and expanding their ability to have sit-down dinners, etc., at many of these places, they may need staffing that they previously had to let go when COVID was a problem. But this might be one basis to allow them to come in and talk to the people and get employment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So we could also share the flyer as well as the basic information with our local business associations to try and empower them to take part as well.
Yes.
I think we have a bunch of business associations in Upper Darby Township. And would Chief Sawyer, will the fire department be a part of this one as well?
We hope so.
That's the plan. We plan on being a part.
Awesome. And Mayor Keffer too. You were on last time too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Okay.
So does any other members have any questions or comments? Council? President?
No, I think we're good.
All right, well, this concludes our committee report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So next up, we have solicitors.
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. We have a brief report. Beyond our various ordinances and resolutions, we are still working on St. Eugene's, along with the engineer, Mike Galante, in terms of ensuring that we have all the funding that's necessary to move forward. As council may remember, this was done maybe about 2 years ago. So we're ensuring funding. And then we also successfully opposed a billboard on Garrett Road last week in front of the zoning hearing board. So it's a report.
Thank you. And Councilman Gwynn, your perplexed question, that was the billboard that was brought up, I think in 2018 or 19. And Councilman Gwynn, myself, and then Councilwoman Keffer had spoken at that zoning board meeting opposing it. It had been approved, and then the township under Mayor Keffer appealed it. And it came back to the zoning board and was denied this past week, Thursday. To just kind of recap your perplexed expression, told me that you had a question on that. So I see Councilman Burke.
Thank you, President Wentz. Solicitor Richardson, did you say we opposed the billboard?
Yes,
The solicitors did, or the zoning board denied it?
No, the solicitors presented on behalf of the township in opposition. As President Wentz shared, this was done. This was approved at the end of 2019. The township then appealed it to Delaware County Court of Common Pleas, and then it was remanded to the zoning hearing board for further testimony.
Okay. Okay.
Expert on the matter, and that's when the zoning hearing board decided on the matter, and they denied it.
Okay, thanks.
Councilman Gwynn, did you have a question? You have to.
I did not have a question. I have a slightly different viewpoint on the memory of the events, that the billboard thing wasn't approved. They challenged it and went to media with it, and then media said that it was kicked back to us, to the zoning committee, and it was supposed to be brought up this past meeting. And unfortunately, just before that sequence occurred, my system had a problem. Leastwise, I couldn't get back on there to find out, but I thought it was removed because the individual had his attorney there, but he wasn't able to provide information. So this was a second appeal, and it got turned down.
No, that's actually factually incorrect. It was approved in December of 2019, originally by our zoning hearing board. There was an adequate expert testimony as required by the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. They only put a realtor on, not a real expert. Mayor Keffer appealed this. We went to the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. Judge Whelan, Common Pleas judge, agreed with us, remanded it back to the zoning hearing board for expert testimony. Twice, the applicant's attorney, actually 3 times, asked for a continuance. Finally, the continuance was denied. It was heard at the last zoning hearing last week. We provided expert testimony, a expert witness, Mr. Babbitt, who's very accomplished. I think every recognized courts throughout the Commonwealth, and the zoning hearing board agreed with us. We won and denied the application.
Thank you.
Yes, that expert was wonderful.
Yes, used him many times. He wrote Montgomery County's comprehensive plan. So for the whole county, he knows his stuff. Yeah.
It's awesome. Any other questions or concerns for our solicitors? Okay, seeing none, moving on to old business. Does anyone have old business? Councilman Burke? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Wentz. Can we get an update on the Drexel Line Shopping Center? It's the month of May, and I don't see any dirt moving. Any holdups?
No, it's absolutely approved, and the authority approved the EDUs. I believe a couple weeks back, so from Ken Schuster. So it's up to them to move, but they have all the approvals they have to move forward.
All the DEPs, everything from the state, county commissioner.
I don't know, Mr.
everything?
Galante can comment on that, but.
Yeah, we've been working with the developer. They're still working on their FEMA approval and also getting their DEP approval. So I think they're the two remaining approvals left before they start breaking ground. But we've been working closely with them. Anything we can do on our end to get them through the process.
So Michael, we're still at the same two biggest hurdles that we were 3 months ago.
Well, one of the biggest hurdles, I'll tell you, the biggest hurdle was the EDUs with DCJA, and that actually managed to get through their board, subject to a tri-party agreement, which we're working on right now. And then after that's done, it goes to DEP for approval. That was the biggest hurdle, which, now we're dealing with FEMA and DEP, which are, also other permits that are required to get the project moving, but, more manageable than what the EDUs, what the sewer capacity was. So.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, Councilman Wagner?
Thank you. On the subject of old business, we heard a presentation tonight about the school district project. And as things developed, we learned that the plan was to bid this project in the month of May. And it was presented to council for the first time in the month of May. And our always cheerful school superintendent seemed to take umbrage at the notion that this has not been discussed publicly enough. I have no idea how much discussion in the public realm there was about this project. I'll confess, tonight was the first time I ever heard anything about this project. I'm not calling anybody out here, but I urge every council member to think to yourself about whether you heard anything about this project before tonight. The fact that I didn't, and the fact that I know Mr. Bonnet didn't from the comments that he made publicly, says to me that it's very doubtful that the public knew much about this. At a bare minimum, I request that the school district submit to us the content of the public comment that was received. If there was a great deal of public discussion and public comment received, what was it? What was the comment? How many people commented upon it? What did they have to say? We need to know that before we vote on this, if we're going to do that in 3 weeks. So I think the school district should be asked to submit to us the information about the number of people who commented upon it and what they had to say about it, so that we're not missing a possible concern about this in the public. My guess is most of the public is blissfully unaware of it at all. But if Mr. McGarry is correct that this was widely discussed and there was plenty of public discussion about it, same thing he said about Armonamink, by the way, well then just tell us what it was. How many people commented on it? What did they have to say? And how was it advertised to the public? I'd sure like to know all those things.
Okay, Councilwoman Billups.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I just want to say to Chief Sawyer, I guess this is part of old business. I'm just so sorry about your mom, the loss of your mom. So I just wanted to say that. That's all I wanted to say for old business. I'm just so sorry about the loss of your mom.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah.
Definitely concur. Anyone else with old business? Councilman Siddiq?
Yeah, it's been a long time we are discussing regarding the Old Marshall Road and Church Lane. There's around 25 to 30 feet sidewalk need to be built. And we talked about it last year. If I would like to talk, or I'd like to ask administration if any improvement or any update for that one. Is Old Marshall Road and Church Lane.
Mayor Keffer?
Councilman Siddiq, thank you for bringing up that question. I'm working with Mike Galante to figure out who owns a lot of that land. It looks like it might be a PennDOT right away. It's difficult. You can't just do a simple search on the county database to figure that out. It's also one of our most popular dumping sites, but we've worked with Public Works, and there's a surveillance camera now. We have surveillance cameras. I was going to bring this up in old business, but I'll just say it now. We have surveillance cameras in a couple different places, and we're trying to roll out like a more complete plan, but we have to, you just can't put up a camera, right? You have to have someone monitor it, so we're trying to get implement it and then also maintain it. But in that area, there is a surveillance camera. It's just that you're talking about the sidewalk and the overgrowth of all the vegetation. That's Mike and I are working to figure out who actually owns it and who's responsible for it, because it doesn't look like it's the owners of the row homes on Old Marshall Lane. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, the right of way at that location is somewhat extended from a typical PennDOT right of way. So we're trying to get the PennDOT right of way maps. Once we get them, we'll have more information on the ownership of that section that you're referencing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business? Okay, seeing none. New business. Ms. Billups, Councilwoman Billups. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Council President Wentz. So I think I have just two things. So the first is I am doing a cleanup at the Second Ward playground. And it's also a community cleanup, and I will be there, and the mayor will be there, and I hope all you guys will be there too. It's on the 22nd, I'm sorry, on the 22nd, and it starts at 9. So hope to see all of you there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a resident submitted a request to the request line on Calvin Road. She was asking about a no parking sign, and it came back that I'm just summarizing the note that came back. It says that we have to present it to council first before a no parking sign has to get put up. And on her street, it's no parking on it's no parking on her side of the street, and it's not parking on either side of the street. It's only parking on one side. And the opposite side has no parking on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And it's not a fire lane in front of her house. It just says, it's a sign that says, watch children. She just repaired her concrete sidewalk, and people were parking also on the sidewalk. So she's asking if a no parking sign can be put up there. And the request line said that we had to go through council first for that.
I think that it's a matter of, I'm wondering if that's something that needs a petition based on our best practice.
I'm sorry.
Can I get CC'd on that? If that's just, are we talking about the 7,000 block in Calvin Road?
Yeah, I can send you the email.
Yeah, because I just wasn't aware of it. I would love to step in as a council person.
Yeah. And also, if anytime anyone's parking on the sidewalk, the resident should call the police to notify the police, because
I did say that. I did say that to her. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I will send you, Councilman Tunis, I will send you the email that she sent to me and what I sent to the request line.
And send it to Miss Alexis too.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So
Okay.
I think that's all I have for new business. Thank you.
Okay. And then I see Councilman Wagner and then Silva and then Blackwell. So Councilman Wagner.
You're on mute, Councilman Wagner.
Thank you for the reminder. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I think it would be appropriate for us to express our condolences to Mr. Rangione and his family on the death of his father.
Yes. Yes.
I know he's not here, but I thought that was appropriate.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Concur.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Councilman Silva.
Thank you, Council President. I'll be doing the Creek Road cleanup on the 23rd, which would be a Sunday of May, and it will be from 12 to 2. And part of the reason for the late hour of doing the cleanup is to help promote the Swedish cabin being open from 1 to 4 at that time. So, hopefully people that come for the cleanup will then also visit the cabin. I think it's something that I don't know that all the residents of Upper Darby are aware of, and I just hope it gets utilized more and more people come out to that area. So just wanted to let everyone know about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Councilwoman Blackwell.
Yes, I just want to say thank you to all the teachers. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you for all that you've done, all that you do, and all that you will do. Also, happy Cinco de Mayo for those that celebrate. And also, we have a nominate your favorite clerk. If those who wish to nominate Alexis, she is, we like to celebrate her for all that she has done, all that she does. And you can go to mchr@generalcode.com to nominate her. She is, it's nominate your favorite clerk. So we do thank you for those 3 items, okay?
Thank you. I will post that nomination on our council Facebook page so that others can nominate her as well. So I know that many of us have already nominated her. I wasn't sure if that was meant to be a surprise, but we're empowering everyone to nominate her because she's awesome and she makes it so that we can all function, and everything we have to work with today, she makes possible. So she keeps us going. She is the heart and soul of our council. So we greatly appreciate you. I see Councilman Barnett is next and then Councilman Siddiq.
Thank you. I have something that I'd like to ask Solicitor Kilkenny to advise us on, and I don't expect an immediate position, an opinion tonight, but I ask you to look into what I'm about to say, unless you feel comfortable giving one tonight. This has to do with a zoning issue, potentially a zoning issue, but I would say it's a violation of a zoning order by the way of it, by virtue of the way it's occupied. There is a property at Sylvia Road and Township Line Road. It's a single family. It was originally a single family house. It was occupied by a physician who lived there at one time and had his practice there. Many years ago, when I say many, I just don't recall how many, but it was certainly during my term as council person, an attorney wished to hold his practice there. He wanted to buy the property, which he did. And with zoning relief, he was given permission through a variance with other considerations as well that he freely agreed to, that he could occupy that particular building as to operate his law practice from. And the other conditions were like numbers of employees he could have, number of parking spaces required, landscaping required, et cetera. The routine things that we would want to have, in consideration of an approval. The zoning hearing board granted that he could occupy it, but he and only an attorney would be permitted to occupy that then and in the future. Apparently, and I would ask that this be part of any research in forming an opinion, that, and I'm sure this is on Township, I would think this might be in Township records, that recently it was occupied by a business that does not comply with the zoning order. It's not an attorney. It's certainly not a professional organization of any type. And in addition to which, they have put this gigantic sign on the property. And I believe, if I recall, the zoning order that was granted to the attorney when he occupied, that it also involved the sign. And I'm sure our sign ordinance would regulate that. And I know our Department of L&I is working on this, so they're aware of it. But the fact that this has been potentially leased by the attorney that owns it to someone that does not, the business of which does not comply with the zoning order, I think it's a blatant violation, of course, of the zoning order, and something he should know better than to do as a professional himself, and particularly an attorney. But I'd ask Solicitor Kilkenny if you would take a look at whether or not the township, under the circumstances that you can research, has the right to shut this business down immediately. They may, from what I understand, they may apply for zoning consideration to allow their proposed use, or their actual use that they're using it for today. But I would like to see, and I know my constituents would like to see, this property immediately shut down because of the blatant violation that it is occurring there in terms of the way it's being occupied. So I'd appreciate if you get back to me with your thoughts on that as to what the township's prerogatives are, whether we in fact can shut them down immediately and force them to cease and desist. I'd appreciate that opinion.
Sure, I'll speak to Mr. McSween and the administration and follow up on the matter. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Siddiq.
I have two items. One is the Stonehurst area cleaning on Saturday, May 8, 12 to 2 p.m. Especially I'm asked the at-large council, please join with me, 12 to 2 p.m. This is the section I was talking about last year, that their backyard is so dark, so dirty, and it's like a big, huge potholes. And when the rain come, it gets watered with the fill up. So I'm cleaning that area. I'm inviting all the members, whoever have time, please come join with me to clean up the neighborhood. This Saturday, 12 to 2 p.m. And second thing, resident of Emerson area, where it's Longland, Emerson, Cleveland, they talking about this carpeting that area. As soon as they make a left turn from Church Lane and come to the Longland, they speed up. And last year, she told me that last year some of the car hit their home. And they are talking about the speed hump, which we are in trial basis. And one side of the street is Upper Darby, another side is East Lansdowne Borough. So it will be very hard for us to work with the both places to make the speed hump. But the residents concerned about the speeding, the motor vehicle. So keep in mind and under consideration to do something in that area.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything for new business? All right, seeing none.
No.
Mayor, sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
Council President wants, I think, Deputy CEO Allison Dobbins had something
Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Dobbins?
to share.
Yes, so State Representative Mike Zabel is hosting a job fair on Thursday, May 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be at the Clifton Heights Athletic Field because that's part of his district at 217 North Springfield Road in Clifton Heights. Upper Darby Township will be participating. We will be doing on-the-spot interviews for the seasonal public works positions. So we invite any resident to certainly are encouraged to come by if they're interested in one of the seasonal positions that we offer in public works. We are also actively recruiting for several other key positions within the township, including Chief Sawyer's administrative assistant. So again, we're really just encouraging anyone to come out to State Rep Zabel's job fair. But we did want to really let council know to spread the word that we will be doing on-the-spot interviews for the seasonal positions at that time. If they can't make it to the job fair but still wish to apply, that is all available on our website, including the online application. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So then does that mean Sadiq, did you have something else?
Yeah, Ms. Dobbins, I would like to know the time and place again. One more time, please.
Certainly. It is Thursday, May 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
And it's at the Clifton Heights Athletic Field.
Okay, it's open field, right? Okay, thank you. I'll spread out the message.
Do you have a Ms. Dobbins, do you have a post on, is there a post on the government social media on it that we can share? You're muted, sorry. It's okay.
Yes, we will have posts up, but certainly State Rep Zabel has.
Okay, so I'll look for it and share it. Great. Okay. I just wanted to thank Chief Sawyer for joining us this evening. We did, at our last meeting, we did acknowledge your mother's passing in our moment of silence. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. We're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much.
So yes, so I wanted to thank everyone for constructive conversations this evening, for our presentations that we had. Definitely learned a lot. Can we get one more motion for this evening as a motion to adjourn?
Like to
So
motion
moved.
adjourn.
Silva and Sadiq.
Second.
And just before we continue, Miss Alexis appreciates us supporting her as our favorite clerk. So she just wanted to say thank you. So all those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. 10:11 p.m. Thank you.
Thank
See
you,
you later.
everyone. Have a good night.
Night.